Kim Yisak is so unlucky that he got hit with a one-of-a-kind illness, a disease that only he was diagnosed with. What makes it worse is that he's going to die in 6 months. His whole life, Yisak just cooperated with slavery, never getting the chance to enjoy the pleasures of life. The thought that he would die a virgin was what truly devastated him. As if to rub salt on the wound, he won a lottery jackpot the very day he was diagnosed with this rare disease. In the end, though, he died and was reincarnated as a bald skeleton in the underworld, an inferior class summoned monster. Now his job was to wipe out all the rebellious forces threatening the demonic realm. So he did his job diligently and eradicated the menace. Once he brought prosperity to demonkind, who were on the brink of ruin, he became revered as the undying sovereign of the underworld and earned the title of the Great Demon King, King Izak. Even though his name is Yisak, these guys always pronounce it wrong and call him Isaac instead. Either way, while he enjoyed all the attention he was getting, it wasn't his main goal to begin with. He had to leave this place to pursue his final goal. His ultimate goal was to turn back into human, as he merely wanted to experience the sensations of eating and feeling pain, simple pleasures and struggles he had long been denied. So, he visited the divine realm with the severed head of the enemy force leader, a clear sign that he had completed the task assigned to him. With that, he had taken care of all the factions challenging the gods, just as promised. Now, he expected the gods to keep their side of the deal as well. As written in the contract, it was now the gods' turn to fulfill his wish, to turn him back into a human. The gods were in absolute awe. This dude had literally cleared a quest in just a few years, one that was supposed to take at least 500. Apparently, the gods never actually intended to turn him back. They had only assigned him an impossible task, so he would remain their slave for the rest of his existence. But our skeleton buddy wasn't about to let that slide. He made it clear that he wasn't tolerating any more delays and demanded that they hold up their end of the bargain. One of the gods tried to insist that he do them one last favor, just one more task Yisak has to do. But of course Yisak wasn't some dumbass with a hollow skull. Realizing their scheme, he became absolutely enraged, ready to confront them if they refused to listen. He began exuding immense power, a force so terrifying that even the gods flinched. Panicked, the scum gods joined forces and cast a powerful spell that sealed away all of Yisak's abilities. Apparently the gods had written Yisak's name on some weird centipede-like creature. Whoever's name was written on that thing became completely immobilized, no matter how powerful they were. It was the highest class holy art, a technique the gods typically use to seal away disasters like our boy. So, the gods started their final mojo to seal Yisak away into that bug for eternity. But this is when Yisak decides, screw that, he'd rather self-destruct than become some insignificant caterpillar that doesn't even have hair. The energy around him began to intensify, and eventually, a massive explosion rocked the entire divine realm. When the dust finally settled, our skeleton buddy was nowhere to be seen. The only thing left on the ground was that little caterpillar, which was supposed to hold Yisak's soul. Seeing the caterpillar made them believe that the spell they cast had indeed worked, and that the Demon King's soul was sealed away. Now that the Demon King was gone, they were sure there wouldn't be any hurdles in their way, and that they'd bounce back stronger than ever. However, one of the wiser gods warns them not to get too comfortable. They can't afford to let their guard down. Who knows when another disaster of Yisak's caliber might be born. So he comes up with a plan to create the perfect vessel for a saint in the human realm and exterminate every last demon. But another god points out that this would be a massive undertaking, one that would drain the power of whoever volunteers to create this so-called saint. Still, the volunteer god assures them that it won't be that hard. All he needs to do is find the right soul to place inside the saint's body. As for the insolent skeleton demon king, the gods are sure they've trapped him in this caterpillar, and they look forward to torturing him as a bug for all eternity. Now, let's switch to our boy's perspective. After being scammed by those dumpster gods, he finds himself reincarnated in the body of a baby. He has no clue how this even happened. The only explanation that makes sense is that those bastards somehow messed up the seal. The maids standing nearby perk up in happiness when they notice that the saint has woken up. But when Yisak takes a closer look at these servants, he quickly realizes they don't have good intentions. Then one of the servants pulls out a feeder filled with suspicious green liquid. Seeing that sends Yisak into an absolute frenzy. He's terrified at the thought that he's about to die again, just after being born, and he has no idea why he's supposed to die again like this. The bastard holding the feeder filled with poison gives our boy a crooked smile and apologizes for what he's about to do. As soon as the servant tries to put the nipple into Yisak's mouth, the poor guy dodges it, twisting his face left and right. The servants start to panic, not knowing why the saint is refusing the feeding. Well, Yisak clearly has his reasons. After finally becoming human, he doesn't want to risk dying by eating something that looks suspicious as hell. Besides, he wants to figure out how the hell he even became human in the first place. This is when the servants call him Izak, the same name everyone in the underworld and the gods used to address him. Yisak is absolutely spooked as the words sink in. He remembers that Izak is just the other pronunciation of his real name, Yisak. Even the gods used it when they sealed him away. Since they used the wrong name, that's probably the only reason he wasn't sealed away, and instead, he ended up reincarnated into a different body with the same name. This brings a wicked yet joyful smile over his face to think that those idiots failed to seal him away. The servants take this opportunity and thrust the feeder's nipple into his mouth. Both servants do their best to keep the feeder in place, but the baby is too strong and keeps resisting. Eventually, Izak relaxes and stops struggling. The taste he's getting is like drinking vegetable juice, which means it's not poison. But with how awful this juice tastes, he'd honestly rather take his chances with poison. Then he starts feeling something ominous entering his body. It seems like there really was some kind of toxic substance mixed into the feed. The scene transitions to the Holy Empire Hela's central temple. There, we see an old coot smirking, feeling satisfied that Izak, who is supposed to be one of the saint candidates, must be pushing up daisies by now. At that moment, the man of authority, the emperor of the Holy Empire Hela, Alexander Heathcliff Hela, crosses paths with this old coot, the bishop. Alexander is actually visiting the temple in order to see the saint candidate of the Eshua household, who, of course, is our boy. The bishop and his disciples don't forget to bow their heads in the presence of absolute authority. Alexander then proceeds to question the old man about the reason for his visit. The old coot fakes this smile and claims he has come to greet the saint candidate of House Eshua, and he is sure that the emperor is also here for that very reason. As they're catching up, someone suddenly shouts out loud, grabbing everyone's attention. The reporter is here to report something regarding Izak, and given the urgency in the guy's tone, it's clear that it's something bad. The old coot feels a surge of happiness inside as he considers that his plan must have worked. Alexander and his entourage of knights rush to the room where Izak is. But contrary to everyone's fears, it's nothing serious. Turns out, Izak's belly has simply gotten plump after chugging down all that vegetable juice. The servants reveal that Izak eats extremely well. He's already downed 15 bottles of that tasteless juice. As adorable as this news might be, it's equally devastating for the old bastard. The fact that this kid is still alive after drinking 15 bottles of poison is absolutely messing with him. To understand how our boy managed to survive this absurd amount of poison, let's rewind a bit. Back to when he had his first bottle of that tasteless vegetable juice. The moment his body started absorbing the juice, he felt something ominous seeping into him. But soon, Izak realized that it actually was a holy poison. A devastating toxin designed to destroy the holy power of clergy members. It doesn't have any immediate effects, but since it's still poison, it becomes deadly if the body absorbs too much of it. However, this poison is made from demonic mana, and as a former demon king, this stuff is basically a perfect snack for Izak. To him, it's like marijuana. He could smoke this all day, and it would taste just as good no matter how many times he had it. The moment he finished his first bottle, Izak immediately threw a tantrum, demanding another one. The servants had no choice but to give in, especially since their mission was to make sure he consumed enough of the poison. So, they were more than happy to keep feeding him. But Izak wasn't complaining either. He was just as happy to absorb all that demonic mana for himself. This poison helped him tap into a realm beyond the conscious mind, commonly known as the unconscious world. And deep within that realm, at its very core, he wanted to create his mana core. He then starts the process, and a ball of fire ignites in his hands. Next, he starts adding the mana he absorbed from the poison into the mana core. Since he needs a mana core to use magic later, he decides to prepare it first. But his experiment goes terribly wrong when the mana explodes. Once the explosion subsides, what he sees is far from normal. A mana core is supposed to be one of the 3 primary colors, but in his case, it's white. And he has no clue why. The color isn't the real problem, though. What concerns him more is the sheer, overwhelming power radiating from this tiny core that isn't even fully developed yet. As terrifying as this might seem, it actually makes our boy crack a smile. This is a true blessing in disguise, something far beyond his expectations. The thought of such terrifying power being crammed into this small body is exhilarating. Not only that, but if he hones himself properly, he can't even begin to comprehend what kind of monster he'll eventually become. As he stands on the verge of reaching new heights, he reflects on his past, a life where he was forced to die like a pathetic loser who had accomplished nothing. All he ever wanted was to survive, and that deep desire led him to reincarnate as a bald skeleton. He worked tirelessly as a demon, creating original buffs and skills through sheer effort. And now, it seems those spells have been inherited by this tiny body as well. While Izak was lost in his subconscious turmoil, the 2 servants started to panic. For a moment, they thought the kid might be dead since he hadn't moved an inch for a while. But then, out of nowhere, Isaac lifted a finger toward the ceiling and, after cranking up his volume to the max, he began to demand another bottle of poison. Back in the present, Alexander and his knights are relieved to see that things aren't as bad as they feared. Even our boy is relieved, as he almost thought he was about to get assassinated. Thankfully, nothing bad actually happened. Well, he might not realize it, but bro was literally about to get assassinated. Then, Isaac notices the bishop staring at him with a look of pure contempt. This makes our boy wonder, why in the hell is this dude looking at him like that? He thinks perhaps he ate too much, which is earning him these unnecessary glares. But he quickly shakes off the thought and decides to simply act like a kid. He doesn't want to overreact or act unnaturally in a way that might attract unwanted attention. So, he keeps playing the role of the clueless child while the old man fumes with barely contained rage. As far as the old coot is concerned, Isaac should be on the floor, coughing up blood, struggling for his last breath. Instead, this little brat is grinning from ear to ear, almost as if he's doing it just to mock him, and that is tweaking the hell out of this old man. A few days prior, at the headquarters of the Holy See, it was revealed that anyone bestowed with the title of saint would also gain control over the Holy Empire. And this golden-haired guy is not even the least bit happy about it. He's absolutely certain that the only reason all the noble families are so eager to declare one of their children as the saint is because of the power that comes with the title, and he desires to have this power all for himself. The same old coot, the bishop, assures his master that he'll take care of the other saint candidates, making sure there's no one left standing in the way. The golden-haired guy then inquires about some unpleasant rumors he's been hearing. According to the whispers, a new saint candidate has appeared from House Ishwa, the very household that has strong ties with the emperor. Well, it looks like they're talking about our boy. The bishop immediately tenses up, knowing full well that dealing with House Ishwa's saint candidate will be the biggest challenge yet. But nonetheless, he reassures his master that the kid will be dead long before the emperor even gets the chance to select him as the saint. But it looks like this golden boy is still not satisfied, so he orders the bishop to return to House Ishwa in order to verify the corpse of the saint candidate and report back. This golden-haired guy is none other than Cardinal Harry Barrett, the head of House Barrett. His main agenda is to eliminate every other saint candidate from rival families, ensuring that the next saint comes from his own house, House Barrett. In the present, as the old man stares at the very much alive child in front of him, he is absolutely dreading his fate. All he can do is stand there, breaking into a cold sweat, knowing full well that the cardinal will have his head for failing this mission. Meanwhile, Alexander is thoroughly intrigued by Isaac's striking platinum blonde hair. It reminds him of the empire's founder, who had the same hair color. The old coot in the background starts losing his cool. To him, comparing this kid to the Holy Empire's founder is outright blasphemy. Hearing the bishop use majesty as an honorific to address Alexander, it doesn't take Isaac long to realize that this man must be the emperor himself. Alexander, on the other hand, keeps spitting facts. He even goes so far as to claim that Isaac is closer to God than the current pope, which makes him the final saint candidate. Hearing that nearly sends our boy into shock. To think that a kid like him is a saint candidate, that was not something he was expecting to hear. The bishop, of course, is not happy about this at all. The emperor is starting to favor our boy, and this old bastard just can't allow that to happen. So, he makes a move. He turns to Alexander and requests permission to inspect the child himself. He argues that something about the boy is unnatural. After all, no baby should be able to down that much vegetable juice. But Alexander doesn't see anything odd about a saint candidate chugging down monk food. Meanwhile, Isaac is still struggling to process the truth bombs that just got dropped on him. How could he, the former demon king, possibly be a saint candidate? The bastard bishop, however, refuses to back down. He keeps pushing to inspect the child. Finally, Alexander gives him the green light, but he also makes it clear that they will have to wait until someone from House Ishwa arrives. Meanwhile, my guy is casually burping out the excess demonic energy he couldn't digest from overeating. But the moment he realizes what he just did, he quickly claps a hand over his mouth. For a second, he genuinely thinks he might have just blown his cover. And yeah, it looks like he definitely did. Because now, this piece of trash old man has found the perfect excuse to inspect him. He just sensed demonic energy coming from the child. As the bastard looms closer, our poor hero can do nothing but brace himself. The bishop is convinced that this child must be a fake saint candidate carrying impure mana. He insists that an inquisitor be brought in immediately to investigate him. But Alexander is getting real annoyed listening to this old coot bark nonsense about a saint candidate. In order to smooth things over, the bishop assures him that there's no need for concern, because the pope has already selected the saint, none other than the child from House Barrett. This news genuinely surprises Alexander. He finds it absurd that the pope just so happened to pick a child from his own house. And finally, it all clicks for Isaac as to why this old bastard is trying to assassinate him. Seizing his chance, the bishop scoops Isaac up into his arms, claiming that he needs to take the child to a priest and summon an inquisitor for further inspection. But before he can get very far, the emperor stops him. Alexander reminds him pointedly that House Eshwa is the imperial family's closest ally, and as emperor, he highly suggests this old coot to reassess the child at a later date. The old bastard halts in his tracks, only to make a comeback, this time with a soft but clear threat aimed at the emperor. Apparently, the Pope has mentioned that the ceremony of investiture for the crown prince will only take place once the saint selection is concluded. Basically, the Pope is threatening the emperor by refusing to officially recognize his son unless the emperor agrees with the Pope's choice for the saint. Even Isaac can sense what's going on, and it makes him incredibly annoyed. While he has no intention of becoming the saint candidate because it would attract unwanted attention and jeopardize his true identity, he also can't let the inspection go through. It might reveal his real identity as a demon. Then, an idea sparks in his tiny mind, a plan to turn the situation to his advantage. He infuses the feeder bottle he's holding with mana and strikes the old bastard across the face hard enough to break his teeth, sending blood leaking from his mouth. The broken teeth fly through the air as Isaac acts like a little child just playing around. The old man struggles to comprehend how something so simple could hurt so much. But Isaac just keeps playing the role of the cute, innocent child. Seeing the sheer strength of this boy, the emperor declares that this child must truly be the saint. Even the old man is clueless as to where all this holy power is coming from. Isaac doesn't stop there. He swings the bottle again and lands another brutal hit, and further continues his relentless barrage, one strike after another. It's safe to say this is one of the worst days the old bastard's had in a while. Meanwhile, the emperor is enjoying every moment of this, thoroughly pleased to see such a capable candidate for the title of saint. Isaac, on the other hand, makes sure to strengthen the bottle with magic and delivers one last hit to seal the deal. But suddenly, he senses something unusual about his own powers. Every time he uses mana, he can sense a faint amount of holy power as well. You see, mana and holy power are incompatible and can't normally be used together. The only explanation for this odd occurrence is the influence of the mana core now residing inside him. The old man finally grabs the feeder bottle, throwing it away in a fit of rage, declaring that the baby is a heretic and that they must immediately use the holy exorcism art. To put the final nail in the coffin, Isaac reaches into the old man's jacket and pulls out a creepy hand. Seeing this hand in public leaves the old man utterly devastated. He knows he's in real trouble now. Here's the context. This hand is actually the corpse of a high-ranking demon sealed away. In other words, it's a totem. The totem is an artifact that utilizes the characteristics of demons, who consume the corpses of other demons to absorb their mana. Isaac has kept this totem on him at all times, just in case he ever encounters demons. The old man completely loses his shit when he realizes this kid even knows about the totem. Isaac proceeds to throw the totem on the floor, making it visible for everyone to see. As soon as the totem touches the ground, Isaac snaps his fingers, and the demonic monster inside is unleashed. While the onlookers are absolutely shocked, my guy is rocked. It's a true dab moment for him. The discovery of the Shadow Lich catches the Emperor on high alert. He roars at the bishop of the Barrett family to have summoned a demon inside their temple. The bishop attempts to pin the blame on the child, accusing him of taking out the totem. But the Emperor reminds him that totems can only bind dead demons, so a mere kid couldn't have done something like that. Quickly, the Emperor orders his men to protect the child from the demon and the bishop. Our little protagonist is quickly snatched away, giving the old bitch face a cocky smile, forever messing with him. More importantly, he's intrigued to find out the bishop's strength. Suddenly, the demonic figure roars after understanding its objective to kill the saint at all costs. This puts our little dude in major trouble because the monster in the room has set its sights on killing him particularly. The royal guards jump ahead to protect the young master at all costs. But even Isaac doesn't get what's going on, as he's the one who summoned the demon, and yet, it is targeting him on the spot. He's not worried though, because he thinks the platoon of royal knights will be enough to protect him. That happy-go-lucky attitude goes out the fucking window when one of the guards gets smashed into the nearest wall. Now he's left questioning if these dudes are even competent as the royal knights to begin with. The monstrous demon catches up on Isaac and the guard protecting him. This creature seems adamant on achieving its goal to save the imprisoned king for some reason. The guard holding him is scared shitless as more of his friends are getting tossed around like toys. Isaac realizes he must intervene, and he easily can, as no one will notice the use of his mana in the chaotic movement. The monstrous demon lunges forth to attack Isaac, while he's left wondering why there is an entire group of people trying to assassinate a damn baby. Isaac is pissed that he just freed T-Demon, and yet this ungrateful fuck is trying to unalive him. He invokes his true self, that of a demonic lord, instilling extreme fear inside the demon. The monster is shocked to be in the presence of the Skeleton King, but shortly after that, the boy releases his mana and beams brightly, astonishing the Emperor and his guards. that every glowing shine of his engulfs even the demon, causing it to flee screaming in fear. The demon escaped, but everyone just witnessed the sight of true holy power at work. The guards can't believe that the young master could beat a high demon. They hold him in high regard. Meanwhile, our savage little killing machine is seriously surprised that he can channel holy power. He truly doesn't get where he's stuck. The holy power runs out, but here's the twist. His current body allows him to convert his personal pool of mana into holy power, which also troubles him because now he won't be able to gather any dark mana. It makes him realize that there's no dark mana in the Holy Empire. The bishop is captured, despite him groaning accusations of the kid being a heretic. He blames the young master for being a demon, and even offers to exorcise him for the sake of the emperor. But the emperor has had enough of this guy's ramblings, and truly, all he's done so far is accuse a child of being a heretic when he himself released a high demon against the royal knights. The emperor speaks in a firm tone, emphasizing that the bishop will not be let off so easily for his treacherous acts. This is bad news for him and his group, as the emperor will only get closer on discovering the truth about their spy. The bishop fears that it will inevitably harm the reputation of the Sancta Sedes, so he sneakily attempts to cast a spell, sacrificing his own life for the sake of his family. The bishop releases a powerful mana beast, now hell-bent on his objective to kill the saint candidate at all costs. The creature bares its fangs against the tiny baby, who is sitting there bored out of his ass that this old geezer revealed his true self. At first, he's hella confident that he can knock this puppy down with a sweat. But then it dawns on Isaac that this dude ran out of mana only a few moments ago. It all seems lost until the creature is struck by a powerful attack from another caster. This silver-haired man has come with a vengeance to strike down those who attacked the child of Joshua. It's the devout Azure and his knight squad serving House Joshua. Relai is the leader of this group as well as the boy's uncle. He orders for the bishop's immediate arrest, while baby Isaac is chilling for life. Relai then orders his men to pay immediate respects to the newest member of their family, the son of Joshua. He apologizes to his baby brother, and impresses even Isaac with his no-bullshit attitude. In return for their late arrival, they have come with a present. Isaac sees something shining and becomes excited at the thoughts of gold. But it's nothing more than a fucking figurine of the Skeleton King getting beheaded. So he's basically receiving souvenirs, signaling his own death. It's a shock to his system because these fuckers have so many figurines of the Skeleton King dying in various ways, getting crisped alive or even pulverized to death. There's so many of them. While they're adoring the child's expression, he's out here having heart attacks, realizing that he's gonna have to survive the rest of his life with these lunatics around. So clearly, the little murder machine isn't liking where this is going. He does vividly recall memories of his own defeat. The Saintess attempted to beat him. All three members that became responsible for bringing him down were part of the stupid Joshua family that he has now become a part of. Imagine reincarnating into your enemy's family line. Bro is punching the air right now. While he's thinking about his shitty luck, the bishop roars at the Joshua family for being nothing more than heretics who created a monster. The old geezer has made it his life's goal to reveal Isaac's true identity. He promises to annihilate the Joshuas by his hand, but that's enough of his yapping. Relai is done playing around and merely slices his throat, warning him that it is the mercy of their family that he didn't deal the killing blow just now. Isaac is really happy that he's got one hell of a powerhouse to rely on. He wonders if Relai is willing to go against the Sancta Sedes in the future with the right persuasion. The knights, on the other hand, they're out here treating him with care and consideration. The funny thing is, he remembers fighting against some of the members of the Joshua family and understands that they're strong. His own subordinates were terrified to face Joshua of Blue, for example, but this dude turned out to be a creep with weird figurines of the Skeleton King. The Emperor is glad to have been favored by Relai in this situation, and wants to extend an offer of a lifetime. The Emperor wants to raise Isaac as one of the royal family members, something that comes as music to his ears. The Emperor is doing this because he knows the internal and external forces of the Holy Empire will be targeting the young master, so the situation calls for it. While the Joshuas are reliable and strong, there's no telling if they can safely protect the child. Isaac is a little confused and doesn't get what's going on. Interestingly, Isaac shares the same hair color as the founder of the Holy Empire, which somehow seems to be a significant point. Also, they think that the Skeleton King is secretly targeting the child too, which is just utter nonsense since Isaac is the Skeleton King himself, but these guys don't know that yet. Relai makes it very clear that this kid belongs to the Joshua family, and therefore will be raised by them as such. He doesn't care if it's the Pope or the Skeleton King that is after them. The Joshuas possess more than enough strength to handle the threat. Saintess Melissa among their family is actually eager to encounter the Skeleton King. They can't exactly have her direct descendant to be just gifted away to the imperial family. The name Melissa strikes pure fear in his heart, as Isaac recalls that she was his final opponent in the divine realm. She was the most terrifying foe she had ever squared up against. So let's add another layer to the Skeleton King's misery. Not only was he born into the family line of his enemy, but he's also the direct descendant of the one woman who beat his ass the most. At this point, he's seriously questioning what the actual fuck is going on. Let's rewind a little and understand what a saintess truly means. Having been defeated many times by the Skeleton King, the people decided to forge saintesses, bringing them up as the ultimate weapons of war. They were made to punish evil, donning holy light magic, and considered the highest rank among the knights of the empire. The power of the saintesses allowed the people to believe that the Skeleton King would soon meet his end. They had immense physical stats, a persistent survival instinct, and could only grow stronger with time. But for the Skeleton King, this guy was just ruthless. He was massacring the saintesses left and right. He never really killed them fully, only injured them enough that they would be rendered defeated. The Skeleton King knew that the holy energy of the saintesses always returned to the gods after their end, and that allowed for the creation of even more powerful, evolved saintesses in place. Now let's get to Melissa, the final saintess that he ever faced. She was the most powerful opponent he ever encountered, encountering a near-death experience. And now this terrifying woman is his ancestor. What a life. Riley argues that the saintesses purely exist to defeat the Skeleton King, and the Joshua family line is the only family capable of producing them. Their ultimate mission is to defeat those who stand against the path of gods. Many saintesses have sacrificed their lives just challenging the Skeleton King, even though he never killed them. Turns out that Isaac once trapped a saintess in a maze. It's funny because his intention was to free her, but she was just shit at navigating. 5 saintesses died of frustration instead of going to the hospital to heal their injuries. Riley comforts the child, reminding him that they'll do everything to protect him even if he's cursed. But in reality, Isaac is punching the air because he's the one suffering the most. Riley wants the child to have only one purpose, and that is for him to turn out anything other than the Skeleton King. Which is pretty fucking hilarious considering this is the baby version of their same damn arch-nemesis. Isaac apologizes for having crushed his parents' dreams by literally existing. The Emperor wants Riley to use his head, reminding him that the Skeleton King had been done away with for more than a century now. This is how Isaac learns that he reincarnated a while into the future, and that means he doesn't have Melissa to fear anymore. From that time, the Demonkin continued to prosper. The Emperor argues that Isaac's powers are more important to the Imperial family more than anything. Also, the Emperor highlights that there aren't even any saintesses from the Joshua family line in service at present. It's been 1 year ever since Isaac came into this world, only for his parents to disappear into thin air. Bro, they really said fuck you to their kid and left. Isaac's received 8 different shocking realizations today, and learning that his mother was the head saint of the family makes it all the more worse. He thinks it's all over for him. Also, remember when this idiot assumed that Melissa is dead? Turns out that persistent saintess is also alive and she's still kicking ass. The dude seriously can't believe that she lived for nearly 2 centuries. He's having a headache, and even the Emperor is surprised seeing the child so distraught. Isaac thinks his life is actually ruined if his lifelong enemy is alive and well. He's going to get eviscerated the second she uncovers his true identity as the Skeleton King. He really doesn't want a piece of her at his age, so he pulls out the only move at his disposal. Isaac chooses the Imperial family, and such cuteness that even he is swooned. Riley tries to play his cards and defends that Isaac is just being friendly, but the Emperor is adamant in raising him as his own, as the Imperial family's got plenty of privileges for the child to offer. The Joshua family is known for its saintesses, but they don't have experience actually raising saints. The boy is eventually going to become a demon slayer exorcist, which is why Riley argues that the Joshuas are more fitting of his caliber. They're literally pulling a 1-year-old apart from each end, arguing like children while Isaac is about to get sacrificed in this funny scene. Bro is literally hanging on and really wants to become a part of the Imperial family to save himself. He strongly believes that the Emperor is his best bet, as he offers the most security for his life. So the boy turns to the Emperor and chooses him again. In the next scene, the annoying bishop comes before his cult, still convinced that the boy belongs to the Demonkin. His masters are upset hearing his whinings. They merely can't accept the ridiculous idea that the power of light was channeled by a demonic child. The bishop mentions the use of mana and that he saw it before his eyes. But the Sancta Sedes group has already made up its mind. They waste no efforts in slicing his head clean, deeming it as a punishment for his blasphemous claims. The leader is uninterested in leading an attack squad, believing that the Emperor is going to take Isaac anyway. And then, they'll have more than enough chances to deal with the boy. Only this time, they'll make it personal that he dies. Meanwhile, Isaac learns that he ended up getting taken by the Joshua family. Let's recap what happened a few days earlier. A beam of light distracted them all, while Riley surprisingly gave up ownership over their child, stating that it would be an unworthy place for Isaac to grow up in. Also, it's here he comes to learn that the Joshua family actually possesses the damn corpse of the Skeleton King. His precious body has been snatched and mentioned so late. All of a sudden, Isaac grabs Riley's finger, switching up his plans, and this time aiming to go with the Joshua family. His adorable smile is enough to swoon the older brother. And that's how he ended up pairing with Tay Joshua family instead of the royal one. It's not the best thing ever, as he's getting dragged to the military just to try his best on stealing his previous body. That body of his was refined with mana to the point that it challenged even the strength of gods. If he can retrieve it safely, he's gonna be on the top of the world again. Also, he's never seen the light of desire to survive shine at an alarming rate. It came from Riley, which means he's being signaled that the Joshua family is somehow a better chance at his survival. Still, there are questions regarding the Pope's forces specifically targeting Isaac, something even he has no clue about. Turns out there was a recent prophecy from the gods, which stated that a saint will become the child of the gods. That also implies that Isaac is in line to become the next pope, which is bad news for the Barrett family. It's the kind of development that the Skeleton King seriously wasn't expecting. The pope is supposed to be the strongest cleric, the only one capable of using 10th rank holy spells. This dude is equal to the status of a king with his own army of holy knights. His authority is as close as the emperor's. For millennia, the Barrett family has produced popes, which makes sense that they're going batshit crazy that a saint from the Joshua family is about to take their place. Suddenly, the coachman comes to inform Riley that they've run into a problem. A certain group of men are restricting access to the duchy. Enraged, Riley howls at them for not recognizing the crest of the Joshua family. This evil group actually turned out to be demonic and evil, and their purpose is to eliminate the child of the saintess at all cost. Isaac certainly wasn't expecting his life to take yet another turn and questions what the fuck is wrong with the new Demon King. The Demonkin forces warn them about their mighty king's orders to slay saints and saintesses on the spot. This confirms his suspicions that a new king has usurped the Skeleton King's previous orders. And that is why they are required to kill the saint at all cost, not knowing that they're targeting their very own demon lord from the past. They're happy to spare their lives as long as they surrender the child. But to that, Riley fucking thunderbolts one of them to ashes, pissed that they could say such words against an exorcist of Joshua. Pointing his blade, Riley declares that the Joshua household will not rest until all evil beings are vanquished from this world. He and the rest of his group prepare their swords, ready to send the demons back to freaking hell. As for the Skeleton King, Riley is amused at the thought of him using his mere underlings to seize his body. The Demonkin monsters attempt to strike them down after being provoked. To guarantee the young master's safety, Isaac is escorted by one of the guards away from the battlefield. He's baffled to hear what happened just now. If he's the Skeleton King, then who's the new guy impersonating his identity? Isaac is placed in a bush and protected by a barrier. It's such a powerful barrier that high-ranking demons won't be able to penetrate. Isaac's glad that nothing can jeopardize his safety, but it also implies he's stuck on the inside for good. So he aims to correct that by activating his magic release. Bro meditates into the cosmos like some galactic overpowered baby and calls forth the one who watches. This demonic spirit appears to greet its master, but Isaac quiets him down so he doesn't blow things up. The spirit is eager to serve his master after being called after a long time. This is actually supposed to be a detection spell, but it bears a conscience of its own. He was made for the purpose of detecting magic and painful analysis. The spirit congratulates the Skeleton King for successfully manipulating and taking control of the body of a child. He thinks Bro willingly chose to get stuck inside a baby's body because he's just that evil. The spirit is enraged that they trapped him in a powerful barrier and brought insult to his master. Isaac's done with his bantering and tells him to activate his detection magic at once. The demon spirit begins scouting within 100 meters, sensing a total of 88 enemy monsters. They're weak as shit compared to Isaac, though. But he's worried that such a number is crazy for a battle like this. It's going to get difficult for him if the security for this territory becomes tightened, as it will pose trouble to Isaac's own forces in the future. That's why he wants to end this fight quickly before getting caught. So now, he's risking to activate every last bit of his mana for a single move. Interestingly, he learns that the enemy numbers are getting obliterated at an alarming rate. There are only 31 left, and then reduced to 13. Isaac wonders what's going on. In the battlefield, only 4 Demonkin soldiers remain, while Riley is made alert of an incoming monster. The Demonkin soldiers are happy to have been joined by a powerful ally as they can now kill the saint. To everyone's surprise, this new enemy kills the Demonkin soldier, which leads to the destruction of all the Demonkin soldiers there. The Shadow Lich, the same demon who attacked Isaac before, has arrived. And this monster is as pissed as ever that the Demonkin bastards tried hurting his master. You see, from their previous encounter, the Shadow Lich already knows about Isaac's identity. That's exactly the troublesome part for our little murder machine. The Shadow Lich is adamant in protecting its master, insulted by the fact that his king was trapped inside the body of a child. Isaac managed to free him after all, so now he's suddenly loyal to the guy. The monster stares at Joshua's line of defenses. Even Riley is confused as to what's going on. The humans were thankfully unable to understand his language, otherwise Isaac would be getting slaughtered here. The Shadow Lich has figured out his identity, and while that is commendable, it has compelled the human forces to target the Shadow Lich. The baby cries out from the barrier, catching the attention of the knights. He promises to return to Isaac soon, and for the Shadow Lich, this dude is swooning in affection that his master recognized him. The Shadow Lich ignores all of them and targets Isaac, but Riley and his men don't understand that the Shadow Lich means no harm to the child. He's just pissed that they sealed him in a tiny barrier. Meanwhile, Isaac instructs the demon to break the barrier, which it shatters with a single fucking smash, fulfilling the king's order. With the barrier penetrated, Riley and his men are losing their shit. But Isaac is having the time of his life reuniting with the Shadow Lich. Next, he actually double-crosses the Shadow Lich by sealing him inside the totem, much to his disappointment and confusion. Seeing this feat being performed by a damn child, Riley is questioning what the hell just happened. They just witnessed the boy turning a high demon into a totem. Shortly after his accomplishment, the knights praise him in glory for having used a holy spell. In reality, the kid used mana to seal the Shadow Lich. But Riley doesn't know that. He just thinks that a high-level holy spell was casted, and yet no power leaked out. They think the young master acted out of urgency of the situation, believing that Isaac was the most threatening force to the Shadow Lich at the time. They sing praises of the young master's glory and his future as a saint. But Riley is troubled in deep thought, not knowing why the demonkin forces are targeting the child. At this rate, he knows that something is special about this boy, but it's the fact that Isaac is a child that bothers him. Riley configures his thoughts and strengthens his resolve. The leader of the Blue Division wants to protect Isaac's future with his life. This is great news to Riley, who realizes that he's been naive all along. He was afraid of the Skeleton King's curse, but this boy seems destined to raise the honor of the Joshua family name. He grabs the boy and promises to teach the kid lots of things to become an incredible holy knight. Isaac happily smiles, but on the inside, he's secretly plotting his objective to retrieve his original body. Riley promises to protect him no matter how short his life is, spreading the boy's name across the continent. Isaac wants him to rewind to the part where he mentioned the shortness of his life. Anyway, let's skip ahead to Joshua Duchy, Isaac's safe haven, which is decorated with beauty all over the place. Isaac feels fucking betrayed that these guys are actually living the wealthiest damn life imaginable. When back at his place, the demonkin was starved for resources. He had to assume responsibility for them and keep them well fed. The detection spell even confirms that even a few of these sculptures are worth 10 Demon King castles, so their wealth is like Elon Musk's levels of wealth. Riley places the boy in his tiny casket. The Joshua residence is the hallmark place where demon-slaying warriors came to existence. He wants the boy to gaze outside at the knights' training, as he will one day become just like them. Meanwhile, these very knights are actually beating the shit out of the Demon King's mannequin. Bro is out here realizing that he's seriously fucked if they found out about his identity. Still, his main purpose remains the same. He's going to burn the Emperor alive and soon take over the Joshua Duchy. Even the detection spell thinks he's being petty for holding a grudge against kids. The spirit gets to work and interestingly locates a bunch of mana cores scattered all over the place. This is great news for Isaac. Riley arrives at his place and commands his servants to prepare his room for Isaac as well. One of the butlers apologizes for mentioning new orders. Apparently, Riley is to guide the young master to the annex. It turns out that the fifth young master displays a deep grudge against Isaac and has issued orders against him. Riley is seriously annoyed that Isaac is supposed to be kept where a person met their own end. Their conflict just now makes Isaac happy to see that the Joshua family is in shambles on the inside. Riley doesn't understand his brother's intentions. At first, Isaac strongly opposes the idea himself, but that's when his convenient detection spell reminds him that there are many mana cores resting in Annex as well. Riley is firm in his decision and doesn't want to take the kid to that haunting place. The baby whines because Riley wants to read him some holy scriptures as bedtime stories. Isaac is getting tortured in his own family. As Riley is taking him away, the fifth young master shows up with an arrogant attitude, reminding his orders of sending the boy to the annex. This bitch face is Gowel Joshua, the fifth son of the family. Just one sight of this dude is enough for Isaac to conclude that he's your average delinquent. This guy doesn't even regard the boy as a person. He calls him a mere thing instead of recognizing him as the descendant of the family. Riley strongly opposes Gowel, while Isaac is almost convinced that this new clown is also a part of a group that despises him for some reason. Then again, Isaac is of the same opinion that he should go into the annex instead of wasting time hearing bedtime stories. Gowel insults the kid to the point Isaac doesn't get why he's beefing with a damn 1-year-old. It's insane levels of petty coming from him. Anyway, Isaac has decided to go to the annex and acquire some mana cores. Relay disagrees and counters that people will think of the boy as cursed if they send him there. All of a sudden, Isaac realizes he's making a fucking mistake. His intention was to suck the mana cores dry and then become the saint and the pope on top of that. Then finally he would be able to take revenge against the gods. Gowl points out how a demon specifically came to target the child, which means he's probably already cursed. The leader of the Blue Division counters that it was Isaac's involvement that led to the demon's defeat. They all mention his special saintly powers, but Gowl is unfazed and doesn't give a shit. He calls the baby a pile of garbage, continually upsetting the boy as the argument goes on. The detection spell even thinks that Isaac should sneakily rain down a bunch of meteors on this guy's ass to teach him a lesson. Gowl is okay with them calling the Joshua descendant a saint, but he wants to politely remind them of the family crest. He thinks it would be useful to get the child to revive the one thing that their Lord loves dearly. The holy tree died thanks to the mana of the powerful demons. Gowl believes that the boy should be capable of reviving the tree if he truly does possess powers of a saint. He's provoking Riley, who thinks the guy has gone crazy. Isaac is convinced that Melissa left behind some psychopathic descendants behind her back. At first her son went missing, and her second son ended up being adopted. Isaac suddenly spots something that catches his eye and literally throws his damn detection spirit at it. The dead tree has been resting for 70 years, and yet, Gowl ridiculously expects a mere child to revive it instantly. Both of them are interrupted when they catch sight of the holy tree, now filled with life and as full as ever. It really did come back to life, leaving Gowl stuttering for words. Isaac doesn't even think it was a big deal. He just had the spirit suck all the bad mana from it, leaving it full of life. Realize men are stumped, and he's astonished. They all think it was a baby again. They're all celebrating in joy after seeing him perform yet another miraculous feat. Gowl, on the other hand, still thinks that it's ridiculous that a mere child pulled off something unimaginable. No one in their family was able to do anything, and yet, this mere boy revived the tree. First it was exorcism, but now it's purification too. Gowl strongly accuses his brother of messing with him, believing that Riley somehow possesses help of the saintess, and deliberately acted out a scene. Gowl's strong accusations cause the conflict to escape even further. Isaac is left wondering that Melissa's household is in need of serious therapy, because these guys are all crazier than even the demons. Gowl for some reason doesn't even look like Melissa. They suspect that he must be a half-brother of some kind. His appearance kind of fits the bill for the Pope. Gowl is as enraged as ever, howling at Riley for perpetrating a scene, even though they've already got a saint candidate among the Joshua family. This is surprising news to the boy, because he just came to learn that there's a competitor against him. Clearly Gowl is supporting the other candidate. Isaac wonders if the second candidate is just as foolish as these clowns. Riley helps talk some sense to his brother, reminding him of the kid's importance and his right to lead the house. But Gowl only smears his first brother's name, calling him a coward and a wimp for running away. Isaac is now being treated like a bastard child among the Joshuas, which is honestly the least surprising thing about this family. Gowl accuses him of being a half-blood and lays out a haunting theory. He thinks Isaac isn't necessarily their brother's son even, as his face only matches the description of the saintess only. To this, Riley gets immensely pissed and chucks a fist in his face. A well-deserved punch for baseless accusations. Isaac is just enjoying them fighting each other, when really it's just a one-sided massacre with Riley bullying and beating the shit out of Gowl. It's the perfect setting as it makes things easier for him to conquer in the future. He's already wishing the worst upon this household, but the demon spirit politely reminds him that he will also go down if the entire house falls, so it's not exactly the best idea. In the next scene, Isaac plays the part of what he is supposed to be. A damn baby. He's out here looking like a potato, sitting amongst the most important members of the family. They're all in strong opposition, and against the kid, up until the acting matriarch, Hannah Joshua, orders them to be silent. She lays out her decision to raise the child in a minor house away from the main attention. She inquires why he brought the child here in the first place. The woman is expressing open hostility, which is enough to confirm to Isaac where her loyalty lies. As for Gowl and his broken nose, he's as bitchless and smug as ever. Riley begins by dodging the question and pointing out that his father isn't around to make the decision. Hannah expresses that he's out of the city to deal with the saint candidate situation. Riley drops the bombshell on everyone by revealing the incredible feat of Isaac Joshua, the boy who revived the holy tree. Gowl and the others are stunned. He even tries to bring it down. The rest of the members also agree that not even the patriarch could figure out a solution to the tree, so the doings of the boy make no sense. Hannah naturally agrees with them too, and quickly points out the lack of evidence. Isaac is done playing around and decides to whip out some proof for them to enjoy. He unleashes magic that shocks everyone at the table, showcasing to them the energy of the holy tree in the form of a crystal. I just love his face. He's giving them a run for their money. Everybody's now convinced that Isaac proved responsible for removing the manna of the holy tree. Some of them can't fathom how a newborn was capable of removing it and then providing proof of his doings. Despite his incredible feat, they all acknowledge that he could have actually killed the tree if he wasn't precise about the process. That's exactly why the patriarch pursued a stable purification method. Gowl is out of his mind and questions how any of them can believe that a child was able to pull that off. Relai speaks in support of the boy, claiming that he instinctively sucked out the manna. The kid has performed something outrageous that no one could do in 70 years. Gowl roars at the elders of the household, claiming that this is ridiculous nonsense as a baby like that can't do something that's impossible. He points to the blonde boy who doesn't even look like he belongs to the bloodline. Meanwhile, we get a shot of Isaac who's just chilling all by himself at the table. Relai offers his voice, deeming the boy to become worthy of a saint. Even the next pope if he's dedicated. Isaac is following along with this train of thought. But it is until he is held out like Simba and told to slay the skeleton king that he really draws the line. The elders are attentive at the mention of their arch-nemesis, while Henna thinks that Relai is stupid enough to dig his own grave. So then, she proposes the idea of testing the boy's powers, suggesting the use of the divine relic storage. The scene cuts off there and transitions to the side of the patriarch, who receives a message to request access to the divine relic storage. The patriarch makes it clear that none from the Sanctisates are supposed to use it, but surprisingly it wasn't them that requested access to it. The patriarch is shocked to learn that his grandson revived the holy tree. He can't believe that a saint came from the Joshua household. Eli Joshua, the patriarch of the family, still refuses the use of the device, as only a saint could survive something like that. But right then, Melissa in her majestic beauty comes around and grants access after learning that Isaac is the one being tested. She thinks it's impressive enough that the boy revived the holy tree. She also wants all of the saint and saintess candidates to be put to the test all at once. There's the risk that the child of another household will steal something from the storage, but Melissa is okay with that. After all, even the best saintesses of the previous generations couldn't steal anything. So if someone from this generation achieves the impossible, it means they can hunt down the skeleton king and kill him for good. She thinks it's an excellent idea to pin a reward on it too. Melissa orders for the child to receive the best treasure among the storage. They will be granted the generation heirloom of the Joshua household, and she will further make it so that they learn the secret technique of the family herself. Now let's talk about the divine relic storage and what it's about. It's actually a secret technique cultivated thousands of years ago where many secrets are kept. A saintess has always guarded it, and the Joshuas have been its owners for years. Only children under the age of 10 can enter such a place, which is why the storage was used as a ritual for saintess candidates. Many predicted the kind of powers the child would awaken after retrieving some item the child brought back. But the storage is deemed so dangerous that many candidates risk their own lives to go there. The storage is automatically sealed after a few deaths. The demon spirit teases its master, wondering if he'll survive the dangerous trial. Isaac's eager to tackle this obstacle course. He's more than curious to snatch his previous body from the storage. The captain of the Blue Division comes around to inform the little guy that the matriarch has further issued an order to open the storage to all candidates. 5 candidates from each great household will come to challenge the storage, but they're all confident that Isaac will beat them all anyway. Isaac, on the other hand, is relieved because he's got distractions to make use of. It will make his hunt even easier. Riley catches the child and insists that he be careful inside. Asti demons captured from the battlefield are also lurking inside the storage. He's not scared because he thinks they'll all be weak as shit, so one attack should be enough to deal with him. That's until Riley mentions that he's gonna have to deal with 8-rank demons as a fucking baby. Even Isaac is stunned to learn that the 9th-rank dragon is the worst among the bunch. The demon spirit is convinced that the Joshua family is completely insane. They've shoved a fucking dragon in a storage where babies are supposed to go improve themselves. The demon spirit thinks it's okay since his master has a wealth of knowledge regarding dragons. Or that is what he thought, because Isaac is scared shitless and biting his nail in fear. His history comes with scamming a bunch of dragons and selling them off. So now, the dragons bear a grudge against him, they'll instantly recognize his soul. The demon spirit teases that he might have to pick a new master after Isaac falls. The most powerful baby in the whole world remembers that he'll have to carve a plan for the demons and dragons inside the storage. With his current strength, the most he can deal with are 6th-rank demons. That's why it is critical for him to acquire the mana cores from the annex. The new objective is to capture the mana cores, but Isaac seems more deranged than usual, and his face shows the fear in his eyes. He's out here reading an actual guide to slay the Skeleton King in many different ways. If only he could wield the holy power, he could learn holy spells. But he can't do anything like that. The demon spirit has to remind him that if he uses his magic here, then he's going to be framed as a demon for sure. Isaac is having trouble dealing with theoretical aspects of holy magic. Relai comes to pick up the child, understanding that it's been a long day. It's true because Isaac optimally needs at least 16 hours of sleep to grow well. Relai decides to use a regeneration holy spell on the boy, allowing him to receive full recovery. Isaac is so impressed that he wants Relai to cast a bunch of attack spells too. The demon spirit reminds his master of his true objective, getting to the annex. First, the kid has to think of a way to get rid of obstacles. So he sleeps with Oscar-worthy acting and convinces Relai that the child is impressive at sleeping as well. They fell for an obvious spell like that. Even the demon spirit can't believe that the Joshuas are so naive. Isaac comes to his senses when he hears a Ness about the totem. They want to keep it safe somewhere, which is bad news because Isaac requires it for resurrection. Poor dude is crying his eyeballs out, devastated that he doesn't even have access to his mana core anymore. At this point, he's convinced that he'll have to use the mana from the cores in the annex. He executes Mission Impossible 10 and attempts to crawl his way out. Isaac signals the spirit to open the door because he's got a plan. As for his mission, Isaac hits the ground and learns that Relai locked the door on his way out with a holy spell. It makes things more hectic. Isaac orders him to break the spell, but then it will draw attention. He's seriously annoyed that things aren't going his way, and if he intervenes with his own magic, there will be hell to explain. Right as he's thinking of another plan, Bro gets hit with the damn door. One of the kids surprisingly came to pay him a visit. This brat is the son of Gowel, a 5-year-old called Shuri, and this dude is supposed to be his rival for the Saint candidate spot. Shuri is pissed that a mere baby could do something beyond his level of genius. He emphasizes that he'll be the one to become the Saint candidate no matter what. Once again, Bro is beefing with a 1-year-old. All Isaac has to do is shove a mallet against his face, figuring out his transport vehicle for his destination. Shuri winces in pain, while the tiny murder machine wants to pay him back dearly for attempting to attack him. He beats the shit out of Shuri, smacking him again and again until he's forced to cast a barrier. Isaac is actually surprised that he could cast a holy barrier magic. Shuri then activates a 3rd-rank attack magic, aiming to obliterate the 1-year-old, which is just crazy to me. Isaac thinks it's all impressive before he casts an even bigger barrier to prevent the attack. Shuri can't believe his eyes. A mere 1-year-old is casting insane levels of magic without any training. It's him on the ropes now as Isaac has just learned his first attack spell on top of that. He points to Shuri to unleash his attack, and witnesses the scene in complete joy. The demon spirit understands that he's enjoying bullying a child, but reminds him that killing a Joshua descendant isn't the wisest idea. But Isaac knows that, which is why none of the attacks actually struck Shuri. Embarrassed, he howls at the kid for scaring him. Shuri talks shit against the kid until the damn Shadow Lich manifests in response to Shuri laying a single finger against his master. Shuri gets on his knees and begs for his life, completely terrified that the baby's got a really scary bodyguard to protect him. Isaac stares at Shuri like a villain, ordering the brat to become his transport vehicle and carry him. The brown-haired boy, Shuri Joshua, is just 5 years old and the son of Gowel Joshua, who holds a deep grudge against our protagonist. Though he's a saint candidate, Shuri secretly yearns to escape the cursed Joshua household and dreams of one day becoming a pope. As the scene transitions, our little toddler, the former demon king, is seen riding on Shuri's back. Using his milk bottle as a makeshift direction indicator, he orders Shuri to take him to the annex immediately. Annoyed by being treated like a horse, Shuri grumbles, questioning why he has to put up with this ridiculous task. But before he can complain any further, Isaac's Shadow Lich looms over him, threatening to obey the orders given. It addresses him as a little bug, and advises him to focus on making it out alive rather than whining. As the scene transitions, Shuri has taken the toddler nearly to his destination. He asks, wondering aloud where he's being dragged off to at such an hour, half-jokingly wondering if he is a ghost. Suddenly, he freezes, realizing that the place he's standing in front of is none other than the Joshua residence's second annex. Shuri freaks out, claiming that it's a haunted house. He can't understand why the toddler has brought him to such a terrifying place. I'm pretty sure this is where kids should definitely have no business being. He recalls the rumors about the annex, a place known for the many lives it has claimed, which led the patriarch to forbid entry. Meanwhile, our boy and his shadow pet Whisper are scheming something dangerous. The mana levels inside are so high that they would be the equivalent of training for an entire decade. Excited, the toddler tugs on Shuri's ears, urging him to take him inside. However, his cousin resists, insisting that kids like them are definitely not allowed inside. But before he can resist much longer, the Shadow Lich reappears and scares the living daylights out of Shuri, forcing him to obey the toddler's instructions. Shuri, despite trembling with fear, reluctantly does as he's asked at gunpoint. Meanwhile, our little toddler is more focused on the inner state of the second annex, which appears even more dilapidated than it looked from the outside. His pet Whisper analyzes the entire place and informs him that the annex is shrouded in some sort of seal. Whisper further clarifies that each one of the doors is surrounded by something resembling a barrier. This revelation leaves our toddler disappointed, as he was hoping for a clear path. Meanwhile, Shuri, still panicking, insists they should leave, pointing out that everything is locked and sealed. But this is Isaac we're talking about, and as expected, the toddler refuses to give up at any cost. In frustration, he yanks on poor Shuri's poop-brown hair. After a brief pause, the two happen to notice the paintings hanging on the walls. Shuri shares with his baby master that they belong to the past patriarchs. Sensing his cousin's motivation, our boy asks if Shuri plans on going after the patriarch position too. So after he calms down a bit, the boy confidently boasts that he will undoubtedly be the next patriarch. In the meantime, Isaac comes up with a plan. Having detected barriers around the pictures, he raises his magical milk bottle, now glowing red, and uses it to break the barrier. A chill runs down Shuri's spine as he imagines the consequences, accurately predicting that he'll soon be blamed for what Isaac just did. Throwing his hands over his head, Shuri shouts at the toddler, demanding to know what he's doing to their great ancestors. Completely unfazed, Isaac simply replies that only a fool would place barriers on mere portraits. Isaac's pet informs him that the barrier has been broken, which cheers our boss's baby up. With a mischievous grin, Isaac jumps off Shuri's shoulders and rolls over to the exit like a plane doing a barrel roll. Now teeming with panic, Shuri shouts after him, asking where the heck the little runt is going off to after making such a mess. Upon reaching the door, Isaac commands Whisper to lock it, leaving the poor 5-year-old Shuri alone outside. Shuri shouts at Isaac, wondering what he's doing, but our tyrannical toddler just waves him off, saying that a mere child like him doesn't need to know. Ignoring Shuri's protests, Isaac sits down and begins his ritual of absorbing mana. Shuri, on the other hand, has had enough. He demands that Isaac leave the room or he'll tell the adults about everything, warning him that he'll be branded a traitor. As soon as he bangs on the door, he feels a sense of impending doom. It turns out the adults have already found their way to him, looking for the two kids. Seeing the adults approaching, Shuri thinks it's the perfect time to complain about Isaac. But before he can as much as utter a word, his whining is abruptly cut short by an old geezer who bursts in, furious. The elder scolds Shuri for entering the forbidden place, no matter what his reasons are. Shuri's face pales as the old woman scolds him for acting so immature and bringing a toddler along with him. She accuses him of being reckless, reminding him that many people have seen him carrying the little boy on his back. Then she asks if the traces of holy magic she found in Isaac's room were all his doing. Shuri, caught off guard by the inquiries, can't find the words to defend himself. After all, no one would believe that it was all the work of a mere toddler. His silence only deepens the suspicion. Uncle Riley steps forward and rests his hand on Shuri's shoulder with a serious expression. He berates the boy, emphasizing that he's gone too far this time. In a calmer tone, he accuses Shuri of harassing a toddler who hasn't even stopped drinking his mother's milk. The uncle in shining armor then knocks on the door, asking Isaac if he is inside. This legend is actually asking a newborn if he got locked in. Anyway, when the door opens, they find our boy sitting inside wailing and seemingly petrified. The old lady quickly approaches him, deeply concerned about the little toddler left all alone, pitying the terrified poor thing. With his frustration reaching its peak, Shuri watches Isaac with growing rage and is unable to hold back any longer. He shouts with his seething rage boiling over, demanding an explanation. The old lady notices the sudden outburst and furrows her brow, wondering what could have caused such a reaction. She wonders if it is due to the chilly weather. Meanwhile, Isaac is perched comfortably in Riley's arms, blissfully unaware of the growing tension in the room. He relishes the magic he has absorbed, clenching his tiny paws in satisfaction. You see, the sheer quantity of mana he collected to juice his powers would normally take decades to accumulate. Having gathered up this much mana, he plans on using it efficiently for what he has been intending to. The following day after the shenanigans, Uncle Riley decides it's time to take action. He arrives at Isaac's room with a lady by his side and introduces her as his assistant. The noble lady steps forward and introduces herself as Asili Larcha. She conveniently also happens to be a holy knight from the Joshua household. Finishing up her intro, she bows gracefully before Isaac and pledges to serve him with her whole heart until her last breath. Our little toddler wonders if this is the result of the previous night's events. He puts on his best baby ghost act and asks the lady to leave his sight. The situation quickly grows a bit awkward for our boy, but she doesn't back down. Her face turns a shade of red as she shyly asks if she can pinch Isaac's cheek. Isaac can't help but wonder what this lady is up to, especially considering the strange characters that fill his household. In the meantime, Uncle Riley reaches into his inner coat pocket. He pulls out a ring and presents it to Isaac as a special gift from his uncle. The toddler looks at the simple ring and wonders if Uncle Riley fished it out of a random dumpster. After taking a closer look at its quality, our boy and his pet come to the conclusion that the Joshua household must be facing some serious crisis. However, the lady assistant catches a glimpse of the ring and asks if it happens to be the Saintess's heirloom, a treasure reserved for only a select few. Uncle Riley pats Isaac on the head, proudly sharing with him that he personally requested the item for his first birthday from the council. The toddler wonders if the ring is the real deal. As far as he can recall, this was the exact same item the Saintess used during their battle. Known as the Elder Ring, this treasure holds powers that are said to stretch beyond this world. With this newfound knowledge, our boy can't help but get excited about the holy power locked inside the ring. He knows the ring will likely break if he uses it more than twice, but as the former Skeleton King, he's already thought of a way to repair it. His doubts about whether the ring is authentic are quickly confirmed when Uncle Gowl Joshua looks at it with an expression that clearly shows jealousy. Without wasting a moment, the jealous prick steps closer to Isaac, calling him his cute little nephew. It's obvious that Uncle Gowl has ulterior motives and plans on stealing Isaac's ring. He starts by warming up to Isaac, just like when he would sweet-talk his daddy when asking for something. Isaac wonders if the man has completely lost it. Meanwhile, the uncle is caught up in a situation that's much more complicated than he expected. In reality, he is the one responsible for breaking the blessing device that Isaac was supposed to receive. He made sure Isaac wouldn't get his hands on it. What he had never anticipated, though, was that Riley would go so far as to provide the Saintess's heirloom as compensation. Before Isaac even touched the ring, Gowl did everything he could to convince the old lady to give it to Shuri, but all his efforts were in vain. No matter what he said or did, the old hag flatly refused, telling him not to be greedy. Gowl grinds his teeth in frustration, thinking that no one could ever understand the true value of the ring. He argues with Riley, insisting that if he really wanted to give his nephew a gift, he should have chosen something decent instead of this useless piece of junk. However, Riley seems firmly opposed to this idea and counters that the ring is anything but useless. Gowl then responds by saying that Isaac is incredibly precious to him, and that he would never give him something as worthless as this. With a sly grin, he pulls out another ring and shows it to his nephew. He proudly claims that this ring is imbued with magic beyond this world and comes directly from the Holy See, also known as the Sancta Satis. Gowl goes on to explain that this relic is capable of storing things and is an incredibly rare item that Riley could never have gotten for Isaac. He then brings the ring close to Isaac, hoping the toddler would trade the other ring for it, but instead the infant slaps his hand away. The toddler dismisses the new ring as just a worthless piece of junk and proudly proves Gowl wrong by declaring that he couldn't outsmart him. To emphasize his point, he even tosses the ring away, finding it utterly useless. Watching all this unfold, Riley can't help but wonder why his nephew chose the ring he gave him over the one that looked at least 1,000 times more valuable. Thrilled by Isaac's choice, Riley tosses his nephew into the air with excitement. Meanwhile, Uncle Gowl is desperately having his servants search the water for his supposed invaluable ring. The little toddler soaring in the air feels optimistic, knowing they'll never find it since he cast weight magic on it. Clearly impressed by Isaac, his pet praises him for always living up to expectations. But his mood shifts when Isaac casually tells him to pick it up at dawn. Meanwhile, Uncle Gowl is in full meltdown mode, crying and shouting in frustration because his precious fortune ring is gone, and none of his men can find it. The scene shifts to Uncle Gowl slamming his fist on the table in his room, seething with frustration. He argues that the infant has no idea how expensive it was for him to acquire the storage ring. With a deep sigh, he pushes the thought aside, hoping that Isaac would never be able to use the Elder Ring properly. Gowl convinces himself that the toddler would never manage to use its power, as he would need to absorb at least 20 people's worth of holy power to do so. He laughs at the idea, convinced it's impossible for the kid. Mocking Isaac further, he predicts that not even 10 people will attend his birthday ceremony. However, the next day, things take an unexpected turn. The place is completely packed with people, around 4,000 in total. Among them are over 148 saint candidates. It turns out that all the ducal families, dozens of marquis families, and even the imperial majesty have gathered to attend the ceremony. Hearing about the overwhelming number of saint candidates, our boy feels a surge of irritation, wondering why there are so many, as if someone had just scattered them across the world like seeds in the wind. His uncle rests his chin in his hand, musing that he never expected such a massive crowd to gather here. As he tries to make sense of why so many people have shown up, his bestie, Count Simonage, suddenly appears. Without wasting a second, he asks what brought Simon here. With a grin, Simon explains that the rumor has spread far and wide, and there was no way he could miss out on something this big. Barrett goes on questioning how Riley could have possibly kept him confined to his house after everything the head of the Joshua household has risked. With a smirk, he drops another bombshell. The Pope's own family will be attending the ceremony. The toddler's uncle scoffs at the idea, calling it ridiculous since there is no way the Pope's family would bother showing up. Simon, however, doesn't hold back, throwing out a harsh truth about how deeply they detest commoners. His words hang heavy in the air, but before he can say more, Riley urgently warns him to keep his voice down, reminding him that even walls have ears. Simon sees no reason to hold back, especially now that even his own kid Armin has been chosen as a saint candidate. Yet Riley still urges him to watch his words carefully. As their argument heats up, an unsettling presence creeps in. Bishop Barrett arrives without a sound, sending a wave of unease through the room. With a smug grin, he wastes no time mocking Riley, calling him weak and unworthy. The idea that someone like him could pull off such a grand event seems laughable in his eyes. His gaze then shifts to Riley's family, his words dripping with scorn. He wonders aloud whether the saint candidate has what it takes to bring any real honor to their name. Across the lands, it is common knowledge that boys of the esteemed Joshuas may have enchanting looks, yet they are seen as utterly useless. This reputation persists because others frequently seek to drain their power and win the favor of the Barrett family's popes by undermining these unfortunate children. A long-standing custom among outsiders involves slipping poisoned milk bottles into their hands under the guise of harmless pranks. The intent is clear. Lacing a baby's juice with a blend of toxins including holy poison is a surefire way to cripple his sacred power. This cruel trick usually turns innocent infants into tragic warnings for others, but this time the outcome is anything but expected. The children watching are left in stunned silence. Our hero is guzzling the poison-laced bottles as if they are nothing more than a refreshing drink. Each time he finishes one, he looks to the creeped-out saint candidates for more. He goes beyond simply drinking the poison. He terrorizes the saint candidates by hurling empty bottles at them, pushing them to the brink of tears. The children stand frozen in disbelief as their own peers terrorized by the tyrannical baby. Their whispers grow frantic as they try to make sense of the madness. He isn't even breaking a sweat after chugging an entire bottle spiked with diarrhea meds. One by one, their spirits crumble, realizing that not a single drop of poison has managed to faze the almighty baby. Amidst the growing despair, Shuri, the family's treasured heir, finds the whole thing utterly humiliating. The family's pride is rendered utterly powerless against a baby. His frustration boils over, and he suddenly snatches the bottle from our hero's grasp, demanding to know if he is really that thirsty. But instead of more poison, he hands over a bottle of clean water. Yet the almighty baby is unimpressed. Poison is what fuels him, and plain water is of no use. Without hesitation, he hurls the bottle straight at Shuri's face before turning to another boy, practically pleading for poisoned water. One of them hesitates, his hands shaking at the mere thought. Handing over water laced with holy poison feels like delivering a death sentence. But before he can pull away, our hero strikes without warning and enters into a fight for the magic juice. The others' whispers grow frantic as they try to make sense of the madness. They wonder if the monstrous baby already unlocked the fabled detoxification magic. Their delusion spirals further, making some believe the tyrannical baby isn't a menace, but a hero in disguise protecting them from the poison. Before they can dwell on the thought any longer, a sudden presence sweeps through the room, stealing all attention in an instant. A white-haired boy enters with a face exuding confidence as he dismisses the absurd notion. The very idea that a mere toddler could be self-sacrificial is nonsensical. Shuri jolts upright and is confused why Gonna Barrett of all people is here. Even he had caught no rumors of the Pope's very own son joining the trial. All the boys fall into stunned silence, their eyes locked onto the white-haired legend. The question lingers why he wants the Saintess's relics. A wave of resignation washes over the candidates as realization dawns. If Gonna Barrett has entered the trial, then there is no point in even trying. Unamused, our hero eyes the pompous boy as practically destined to become the saint, though something feels off. Every Barrett is born with hair the color of dung, so the sight of this one's snow white makes him wonder if it's bleached. Before this thought can settle, the Barrett boy flashes a cheeky grin, brushing off any doubts. With unwavering confidence, he claims that his participation is perfectly justified. Since the Pope reigns over all, even the Saintess's relic storage ultimately belongs to his family. His laughter rings through the room, carrying the arrogance of someone who sees himself as untouchable. To him, this is merely reclaiming what is rightfully his. Sipping his water, our smug baby watches the display with amusement over the boy's giant ego. Yet underneath all that bravado lies something genuinely impressive. He is rather surprised to discover Gina's immense holy power reserves that surpass the bishop by a landslide. With a dramatic flair, Gina goes on to condemn everyone's behavior, shaming them for the sheer disrespect of poisoning their own host. When he asks what tormenting a baby achieves, all the runts share fall into silence. As our hero steps forward, he hears the claim that the poor baby can't detoxify poison. Rather, the Saintess's miraculous power saves him. My guy wonders if they're all born with a lack of common sense. The golden boy, eager to play the role of the gracious savior, casts his detoxifying spell. He steals the attention of all the candidates with his advanced magic. But our hero has had enough of watching this spoiled kid show off. With a swift motion, he drives his tiny fist right into Gina's face. One of the boys gasps in surprise, noticing Gina's holy power vanishes in an instant. The Barrett boy stands there in shock, unable to comprehend what just happened. Our hero slips from his grasp, leaving the wunderkind thinking how a toddler managed to nullify his magic. For a brief moment, the boy starts to wonder if someone might actually be stronger than him. Watching our smug baby crawl away, Gonna curses under his breath. Not fond of the rich kid's stare, our almighty baby fires back with a death glare and readies himself to bash his head in. Before he can strike, Shuri throws himself into the chaos, determined to keep Isaac from ruining his reputation any further. The Barrett boy lingers with a scornful gaze while everyone else trembles at the thought of how the Pope's family might retaliate for the attack. Pinned down by Shuri's full weight, our hero finds himself unable to land another hit on the Pope's smug son. Deciding that fighting a baby is beneath him, Gonna turns away with an air of arrogance. He tosses out a parting remark, wishing our boy luck and challenging him to at least make an effort to restore his family's reputation. The tyrannical toddler fights the urge to explode with rage, though most of his restraint comes from the simple fact that he's still trapped in Shuri's grip. With one final smug piece of advice, Gonna arrogantly declares that he will claim the highest treasure, the Skeleton King's body. After all, a puny Joshua runt can't even get close to it. Even Shuri is fed up with the flashy nuisance, but our hero isn't satisfied. So he jostles his cousin back and forth to confirm what Gonna meant. Unfamiliar with baby knees, the boy crouches in confusion as he's shaken back and forth. Suddenly, his eyes widen in shock as he remembers something. Melissa promised to teach her secret technique to whoever brings back the Skeleton King's remains. The realization hits our hero like a ton of bricks. He curses his mother for putting a bounty on his majestic bony body. After a while, the chaos finally settles and all the saint candidates gather waiting for the trial to begin. Bored out of his mind, our hero drifts into memories of his glory days as the Skeleton King, when his body was packed with centuries of mana. All he wishes for now is to regain that power, but the greedy kids around him have become a barrier to that. The agitated baby flings his bottle aside, ready to crush anyone who dares block his path. Shuri shudders upon seemingly understanding his intentions. Just then, a robed man from the Holy Seas steps forward, instructing the candidates to follow his orders. Gathering the kids together, he begins a long, drawn-out history lecture. Our almighty baby is unimpressed, seeing it as a pointless waste of time and decides to leave on his own. Shuri tries to stop him, but with just a flick of his tiny foot, our hero blasts off faster than a cannonball. The loud boom draws everyone's attention, and Shuri stands there utterly baffled, unsure what to think. Meanwhile, our hero activates the spell he recently learned, High-Speed Stride, to zip right into the restricted zone. The history teacher frantically shouts at the almighty baby to stop, warning that the area is filled with traps. It takes a moment for everyone to process the situation before an all-out chase begins for the supersonic baby. Meanwhile, in the Joshua Mansion's banquet hall, a concerned Aceli expresses her worry about our hero. It seems everyone has gathered around a magical globe, watching the trial unfold. The commentator announces that they've tapped into the interior with familiars that track each candidate's movements in real time. Relai and the other nobles are taken aback when they hear that the first door has already opened. To their surprise, in third place is Armon, the son of Relai's loudmouthed friend. Then there's Shuri Joshua, who comes in second. The announcer pauses dramatically before revealing the frontrunner, and shouts our boy's name loud and clear, stunning everyone in the room. The magic orb shows a baby tearing through a trap-filled chamber, the church employee hot on his heels. The old man runs as fast as he can, terrified that the toddler will get himself killed. But a misstep from Shuri triggers one of the traps, and the poor elder is caught in its wake. Some of the candidates start crying for their parents, while others rush, hoping it ends soon. The wailing Shuri curses his crazy cousin for causing chaos from the very start. He pleads with our hero to stop triggering the traps, but the supersonic baby refuses to listen to the loser. With that, he reaches the door to the second trial. As smug as ever, Whisper boasts that he's evolved thanks to all the mana they've gathered in the annex. But our boy gladly replies that's great since now he can work even harder. With a simple wave of his tiny noodle arm, he commands his familiar to fetch his mount. The ghost advances toward the exhausted kids, grumbling about how difficult it's been. While they chat, one of the kids points to Shuri, wondering how the Joshua kid is able to fly. They jealous kids start grumbling, convinced that his family secretly taught him the cool trick. In his mind, the boy has already submitted to his fate while Whisper has a blast floating his body around. The demon ghost effortlessly carries the boy like a drone, dropping him face down beside its master. A weeping Shuri curses his cousin, begging him to stop his antics. He tries to reason with our hero, advising that despite getting lucky in the trial of choice, one wrong move in the second trial can be fatal. As Shuri continues his lecture about how the trial forces one to face his fears, the almighty baby zaps him, irritated by his incessant yammering. After having fun, he commands his cousin to explain the second trial again. Barely holding it together, he stresses that the worst mistake one can make is attacking their enemy. Our boy just stares at him, as if silently asking why he'd just sit there and do nothing. Shuri explains that the test of patience requires them to sit still for just 3 minutes in the face of their fear. If they fail, both of them will kick the bucket. Unimpressed by the cliché test, our Demon King casually strolls toward the gates. Despite Shuri's repeated warnings, he enters the trial nonchalantly, sure that it's an easy win. As soon as he touches the doors, they glow in response. A voice welcomes him, clearly instructing him to remain calm no matter what. Isaac's big bubbly eyes sparkle with excitement. Meanwhile, at the very back of the line, Gоnnа and his lackeys are chilling. One of them asks if it's okay for them to be so slow, considering they're last. With a shrewd smirk, the Barrett boy replies that they don't need to take the hard route when they can just let the others be their meat shields. Calm as a cucumber, he restores their spirit by reminding them that an 8-rank demon guards the second storage. So the others will undoubtedly get stuck there. Grinning confidently, his words come true as he points toward the brilliant light on the other side of the doors. As the trial begins, everyone is taken aback by the handsome deity who appears and warmly advises them to maintain their composure. But before the deity can finish, our impatient hero floods him with holy power, instantly burning him to the ground. Shuri loses it, cursing himself for even thinking his cousin could last 3 seconds, let alone minutes. The frustrated cries of the boys echo down the hallway. But even more furious is our boy, who can't help but reflexively want to annihilate any deity he lays eyes on. Whisper jokes that lasting 3 seconds is quite impressive for his boss. The voice announces they failed, and the impatient ones will face divine retribution. With that, a colossal golem slams open the gates. The earth-shaking roar of the golem sends Shuri into a panic. But the almighty baby remains unfazed, too busy charging up his magical Kamehameha. Without wasting a single breath, he unleashes the red beam that slices through the golem like a hot knife through butter. Shuri's jaw hangs open in pure bewilderment. But as the behemoth of a golem looms before them, our boy can't help but wonder what it's even doing here. The giant golem suddenly crumbles into a pile of boulders at the feet of the Joshua brothers. However, our hero is unpleasantly surprised. Despite hearing that only 8th-rank demons are involved, he quickly recognizes the monstrous golem as one of his own creations. The magic used to summon it belongs to one of his 14 elite familiars. This revelation makes him wonder if the Joshua family made a deal with his subordinates, or if his remains somehow attracted them. Determined to uncover the truth, he confidently heads toward the second storage. But before Shuri can yell at him to stop, a loudmouth interrupts, thanking the Joshua boys for clearing the path. I can already tell he's going to be irritating. From the bushes, a redhead named Nizer emerges with his lackeys. The redhead proudly brags about his tactic and tells our boy to shoo aside and let the big boys handle it. Nizer's lackeys quickly surround our hero to prevent him from blasting them with traps like last time. The redhead taunts Shuri, saying he should be ashamed for using his cousin as bait. Shuri attempts to plead his case, but Nizer calls it preposterous that the little baby managed to blaze through the traps without his help. The annoying redhead then notices the ring hanging from our hero's neck and swiftly snatches it. The blockhead grins ear to ear, announcing that the artifact will protect him from all the traps ahead. Shuri's discomfort grows as he watches his cousin remain completely unfazed, even after having his precious artifact stolen. His concern turns out to be justified as Nizer's squad moves forward. With a cheeky grin plastered on his face, the redhead proclaims that he'll become a hero of the ducal family by claiming the Skeleton King's body. But mere seconds after Nizer steps into the next area, explosions and fire engulf the boys. Watching them get led straight into a trap, Shuri is left utterly speechless. Our demon baby, however, relishes the suffering of the annoying brats he used as bait. Not gonna lie, I kind of feel bad for them. Anyway, our hero moves forward to the second area riding his cousin. He laughs at the fools who burn to a crisp for him and thanks them for setting off all the mines. Still, he's irritated by the kids who've been trailing him for so long. The kids, mesmerized by the almighty baby's divine wisdom, even go so far as to blame Nizer for his fate. They have full faith that the cute baby of Joshua lineage would never cheat. In his mind, Shuri warns the boys to run from the demon currently perched on his shoulders. Just then, a new face steps forward and declares that if there truly is a saint, then Isaac is the perfect representation. The second prince of the neighboring kingdom, Paris Julius, introduces himself to our boys. Hearing the rumors that the prince is blessed by the gods, our hero's interest is immediately piqued. With that, Shuri informs him that they've arrived at the entrance to the third trial. The gates open, revealing brilliant burning orbs of light and floating guardians. A voice echoes in the arena, revealing that the third trial will test their courage. While Isaac's fanboys are all fired up, Shuri is left stunned as the angel-like guardians announce that only those who defeat them will be allowed to proceed. Thinking they just need to act brave, the fired-up fanboys rush forward to fight. But our hero takes a moment to carefully consider what the gatekeepers might be hinting at. Once the realization hits him, a devilish grin spreads across his tiny face. The almighty baby signals for his fanboys to stay back. Meanwhile, Shuri is deep in thought, recalling that Isaac's judgment has always proven right. He believes the gatekeepers are lying, considering how our hero succeeded in the trials of choice and patience by doing the exact opposite of what was expected. Since the third trial is one of remembrance, Shuri concludes they must recall the previous 2 tests. Fully confident in his deduction, he decides that the best course of action is not to attack. Our hero confirms this by halting and guiding the boys away from the Guardians. His 2-legged horse is surprised, wondering if the Saintess's kindness has suddenly awakened inside of him. For a brief moment, hope stirs in him about his cousin. But just as he begins to entertain the idea, Isaac charges up a little magic bomb and hurls it into one of the Guardians' backs. His gullible ride is left dumbfounded while our boy laughs at his evil scheme unfolding. The gatekeeper, however, instantly turns hostile, punishing the candidates directly beneath it with an explosive strike. The wailing boys are blasted away like pieces of shrapnel from a grenade, crying out for their mommies. Meanwhile, our Joshua brothers quietly observe as chaos erupts before them. Realizing his mistake, Shuri glances at the expression on his rider's face only to find a demon grinning in satisfaction. Already aware of his foe, our boy experiences a sense of déjà vu, recognizing the lying puppets that were also crafted by his elite familiars. The villainous baby bursts into laughter, enjoying the sight of the foolish children facing the harsh reality of lies and betrayal. Poor Shuri can't help but feel sorry for the poor souls. I wonder if anyone will ever remind this guy that he's supposed to be a saint now. Up on the 2nd floor of the Saintess's relic storage, the flames are roaring at the corners, burning everything into ashes. Thick black smoke filled the air, making it harder to breathe in this heat. It's like the whole room is being slow roasted. Amidst the chaos at this trial, a bunch of kids are bawling their eyes out, rubbing away tears. Lost in panic, one of them cares to ask where the Joshuas go. Little did they know, a couple of ghostly figures, completely unseen, were still standing next to them. Invisible to the naked eye, it looks like Isaac pulled off a sneaky magic in time to ditch this fuss. Another kid yells that they were just here a second ago. They have to find those 2. Meanwhile, Isaac, doing the nastiest smirk, watches the whole thing like some evil mastermind. Right next to him, Shuri, nervously jittering, is clearly pissing his pants off in tension. It turns out that Isaac cast a 6th-rank holy spell of invisibility to keep them hidden. As it happens to be, Isaac gloats about his ever-so-amazing uncle who had blessed him with this spell ages ago. He specifically mentioned its usage to fit the time of emergency. But this little dude never thought to find such a perfect moment to wing this. At the expense of his magic trick, Paris Julius got free entry to this hidden ghost club. Coming forth, Paris is grateful to Isaac for covering him with this spell as well. Isaac just shrugs it off like it's no big deal. Out of nowhere, Isaac tosses a ring to Paris. The kids catch it but just stand there, clueless to know what to do with it. He asks Isaac what this is for. Paris's brain finally clicks, his eyes doubtful at first, but he turns to Isaac. He asks the little one if he just handed him this because he couldn't handle a one-on-one with the demonkin. Isaac just makes the face like it's totally obvious. Staring at his face, Paris tears up, thanking the guy for such a kind gesture. Gripping the ring tight, he appreciates it big time. Now Paris makes up his mind to let his father know about this. A bolt from the blue, Paris lets out a blood-curdling shriek like he is getting jolted by 1,000 volts of shock sucking the life out of him. Also, the ring's eerie flow of red energy seems to be the culprit here. Witnessing this, Shuri is screaming at the top of his lungs as he has seen a ghost freak. His whole body is trembling like a leaf. Watching this freak show, Isaac and the vicious dark cloud crack up. The dark soul isn't even surprised as he totally expected coming from his master Isaac. Besides that, Isaac figured out that Prince Paris had the most holy power. Meanwhile, Shuri glances at the sight of this pure evil, known to be Isaac. He can't believe that his uncle Relai brought this evil into their family. Stepping forward, one of the kids takes charge and tells the lot that they have to stick together. He then demands to know if anyone here is skilled in defensive holy power. A brunette steps forward, balling a golden magic in his hand. He is ready to handle the defense by using his defensive holy power first, while the other guy suggests backing him up, forming a shield against the lying puppets. Raging in, the lying puppets clearly have no patience, so they swing their wrath at the kid. They demand these wimps to accept their punishment head-on. Right then, the kid in black signals the brunette to do his thing now. Ready to blow them up, he channels the golden glow in his hand and dashes ahead at full speed. Just as he is about to unleash the defensive blow, something happens, and he drops dead on the floor. It seems like the kiddo just malfunctioned or something. The kid in black has no clue what went wrong, but he is in a panic frenzy. He asks the brunette what the heck happened, but no response. Shaking like a leaf, while the ring in flames hangs in the air near the kid in black. He doesn't know what is happening over here. Out of the blue, the same vicious ring zaps a shock, sucking the life out of him. Collapsing on his knees like a beggar, the lying puppets are inches away from slaughtering this bunch. However, this weird turn of events puts them at a halt. They have no idea what just happened to these wimps, like they strangely dropped. The lying puppet scowls, looking pretty much clueless about what's even happening. One of them even swoops up high, scanning the survivors, if any. Then, this one tosses a question at the wimps if there is anyone fallen for their lies. In the meantime, the Dark Soul maps it all together, realizing that the ring is straight up draining the holy power stored inside the kids. Shrugging it off, Isaac behaves like it's inevitable. Without wasting another second, he commands the Dark Soul to head to that point and do the same with that pair. Keeping an eye from the sidelines, Isaac smirks when the Dark Soul plays his twisted games. He casually floats the ring next to the blonde kid, who is busy battling with the lying puppet. 1 second passes, and he drops to the ground, passing out cold. The lying puppet and the other kid are in for a shock because have no clue what just happened. Shaking like a leaf, his buddy tends to ask what's wrong, but there is no response. The lying puppets ask the guy to relax, saying they don't meddle with anyone who has already been taken out. In fact, they add that getting their holy power zapped out dry and passing out is much better than fighting. Acting like it's getting boring, the Dark Soul tells the master that the deed is almost done here. Out of the blue, a glowing ball of golden energy erupts, and the Dark Soul has no clue where it's coming from or what's causing it. Even crazier, it spots an eerie figure burning inside out right in the middle of it. In grave panic, he gets blasted, bouncing out of the court like a football. Shaken like a leaf, Shuri is close to losing his mind. Holding Isaac on top of his head, they both didn't even see this coming. As the Dark Soul faints, a familiar voice rises through amidst the chaos. The man of dramatics, Keena Barrett, declares to finally track down Isaac Joshua. Narrowing his eyes, he mutters under his breath, wondering where this dude ran off to, and now he chooses to finally appear. Shuri's face goes super pale, completely caught off guard by Keena Barrett's tricks. He always knew this kid got a load of talent, but what he is seeing is pure genius, totally unexpected. Suddenly, Shuri spots a pair of huge, fluttering white wings belonging to an eagle. It bows to Keena. Boldly standing tall, Keena's body emits the golden thunder. Shuri cannot believe this little kiddo is actually capable of summoning a holy spirit at her age. He is convinced that she is on a whole other level. Aside from that, Keena accepts that Isaac has shocked her. Apparently, Keena didn't accept to cross paths with the likes of him, who could also take down a demonkin. That, or she questions Isaac if he pulled the other kids into some sort of a trap to raise his odds, just like in the first trial. Behind them, the kid in black helps out the brunette. The brunette yells out that this baby is trying to clear out the trial in their place. Moreover, they blurt out, mentioning that they were told which direction they should head to. According to them, Isaac is their benefactor. Isaac believes that these wimps have lost their minds. At that, the Dark Soul grins, realizing this must be what Stockholm Syndrome is all about. Keena laughs at the thought of Isaac labeled as the benefactor. He questions the wimps about how low can they stoop, and still call themselves the saint candidates, especially asking a baby for help. The kid in black reminds this brat that Keena himself has been in hiding this whole time, and now, he is talking big after doing no such thing to look for traps, while others hunted. He straight tells Keena that this baby is more of a saint than he can ever be, considering how Keena avoids all the trouble. Just then, the lot agrees to let their parents know it's better to follow the Joshua family, and how Isaac did it all. Feeling hopeless, Shuri feels bad for these kids in the dark, who have been leeched off by this devilish monster on his head. Suddenly, this big golden ball bounces off of his head, taking everyone by surprise. Though, the kid in black spots the door to the third storage, but another kid wonders if they have cleared the second trial. Right then, the golden ball as the final gatekeeper of the relic storage congratulates the kids for passing the second trial. Furthermore, he lets them know their two options. Laying out, he asks if they would prefer to pick up their treasure and move out, or face the fatal dangers of the third trial ahead. Panic rises as they try to decide. The lot is fully aware that facing the third trial means risking their lives, and if they fail to win, then they are as good as dead. Meanwhile, the Dark Soul senses something off about the mana coming from that voice. Isaac figures out it's a dragon, which means the death part is pretty authentic. Some of the kids feel like their whole ordeal for making it here will be for nothing if they don't check out the third trial. Most of the kids agree on this, and they know they won't be saints if they fail to clear this. Without further ado, the final gatekeeper hears their wishes, despite the lurking danger inside, and grants them access. Starting off with a bang, the final gatekeeper lets the crowd face the next trial, who are in to risk it all and become the saint. Even under the crazy tension, the gatekeeper says the next trial is rather simple. Cracking up like an evil lord, Isaac looks to be cooking something in his mind. Just like that, a massive figure appears out of nowhere, demanding to be praised as their god. Now, the lot is not sure what to do next. This daring group of wimps gather together, clearly disappointed to face another statue. But this time it turned out to be their god. Next, this stone figure voices to the candidates that none shall pass unless they prove their faith in their god. Only then did he mention that they would be allowed to enter the third trial. Apparently, this stone demands respect. One of the kids thinks it's just simple bowing before the statue and praying stuff. But the other kid bets it sounds rather too simple. Or what if there is more to the test that meets the eye? Clenching his teeth, Isaac looks to be grossed out at the thought of kneeling before this piece of jerk. In no way as hell he will ever do that. As it turns out, Isaac recalls this scum screwing up with him for centuries of years. To make it even worse, he scammed him at the end. All of a sudden, the kid in black rushes before the godly statue. He is convinced that this whole thing isn't as complex as they are all making it. Apparently, it seems like he cracked the code, believing that it's the usual stuff like praying to their Lord. He decides to get it over with this basic test of faith. Standing before his God, he kneels to his supreme Lord, and he loudly states that his God is worthy of all glory and honor. To him, the kid in black declares himself as his servant who offers worship. Without further ado, the godly statue gets impressed and passes him with flying colors. Bouncing in excitement, he can't believe that he cracked it. Other kids feel at ease to know it's that simple. Suddenly, Isaac, like a worm, crawls out of Shuri's embrace and looks to be up to something. Stopping him right there, Shuri orders this worm to pray, but Isaac kicks his ankle hard to shut him up. He isn't planning to do any such thing. Afterward, Gina Barrett recalls learning the art of praying at the Sancta Sedis. Without wasting another breath, Gina kneels before her supreme Lord. She instructs the losers on how to properly set their posture for when they worship their Lord. All the wimps are inching to pray as well. Getting down to it, Gina initiates her worship, calling out to the supreme Lord who is worthy, and to him, kinda offers his worship. Out of the blue, the godly statue demands to know if Brunette is up for the task or having a change of heart. He demands to know if the little one forfeits and accepts death instead. Panic rises in his heart, and Brunette hurries up to offer his worship. In a matter of seconds, everyone has kneeled on their knees to offer their worship to this godly statue. Right then, the godly statue locks eyes with this cocky infant, who's still sitting casually before his supreme self. He demands to know why this baby isn't on his knees. Isaac, with a face that couldn't care less, tells the rock that it looks crazier than it sounds. All the kids turn their heads to Isaac, who looks to be out of his mind. They wonder if this guy possesses a shaky faith. Suddenly, the gossip spreads like wildfire among the other saint candidates. They whisper that the rumors about the Joshua family losing their faith might actually be true. Kneeling to worship, Shuri is trying his best to control his fury at this devil, who won't miss any event to tarnish their family's name. He wants this stupid infant to just pray and get it over with. Meanwhile, Gina Barrett likes his odds as, after all, the whole thing gets recorded. He wonders if the baby actually wants to kill his chances of becoming a saint. Gina cannot deny that the rising talent wouldn't mean a thing if this baby had no faith to begin with. He regrets meddling with the likes of him in the first place. Just then, the godly statue regards this disrespectful demeanor of this infant as quite unethical coming from the child of the saintess family. But Isaac couldn't give a damn about it. He believes that death is far more gracious than kneeling before this jerk. The god here is quite stunned to witness this, and Isaac doesn't mind dying. Unleashing his dark aura, this swirls with an eerie energy all around the stoned figure. Pissed off by the cocky brat, the godly statue calls upon the blasphemous to perish from his sight. But, teeth clenched, Isaac burns with fury and snaps back at the stone face, telling the so-called god to kill himself. Flipping his lid, Isaac boils off fumes, determined to tear apart that hideous statue. The dark soul trembles to see his master so worked up over this. He tells him that it reeks of danger. Just as he is about to unleash his fury, the godly statue turns the tide to reveal that Isaac performed excellently. Caught off guard, Isaac has no clue what just happened. Isaac stands there, completely stunned, as the stone face announces him as the passing baby candidate. Without any further explanation, it orders him to head straight to the third storage, leaving everyone else in shock. All the kids, including Gina Barrett, are in for a shock, as they all waited to see the blasphemous to be perished. But that isn't happening today. Without thinking twice, Gina lifts her complaints to the godly statue that he had clearly asked to prove their faith to pass. She demands to know how that cocky brat gets to pass without lifting a finger as much. Breaking it down for the lassie, the godly statue announces that this baby Isaac gets to be the only kid entering the floor of the third trial. Claiming him as qualified, he regards Isaac to be the only one with true faith in God. That takes Isaac by surprise. The stone face makes it clear that these wimps were desperate to bow at the statue, not the god himself. Thus, he demands to know if their faith says to bow to a stoned figure idol. Outsmarted by an idol, Shuri figures that it makes sense. Slowly, all the kids realize that they have fallen for this cheap trick. One of the kids argues that even similar to their god, the Bible commands not to kneel before an idol. That way, the godly statue states that Isaac kept his faith despite the fear of death, and that's how he gets to go in the third storage. Rising up with a smug grin, Isaac and the Dark Soul cracks up, enjoying this unexpected turn of events. But kinda refuses to accept this, stating that Isaac can't even speak. He points out that in no way they can tell if he kneeled or worshipped. Even then, the Dark Soul tells the smart wimp is right on the spot. Moreover, Gоnna expresses his thought that if Isaac goes with this, then it could be possible for him to possess a stigmata. A stigmata is such a wound carved on the skin with holy power. Claiming to have it, Gоnna raises the argument that how this only saint candidate does not have stigmata. She believes that this theory might lower Isaac's odds of winning. However, the godly statue fights her theory by mentioning that he is still a baby. Just then, the godly statue sticks a finger in his nose, revealing that it's just a baby. That pisses off Gоnna that this dude could move all along. Gоnna then asks him to let him in as well. Now, all kids argue with this god, and he confirms their desires to enter the third storage. So, he decides to let them go. Shuri feels something off about this. Stoneface lets them know if they wish to see true hell, then he will let them in. Opening the doors to the third trial, a swing of dark aura gushes at their path. Trembling in fear, they feel like throwing up now, having second thoughts about it all. Stoneface assures that this eerie feeling is coming from Skeleton King, although he planned to spare the kids who couldn't handle these evil vibes. Meanwhile, Isaac's happiness is off the charts that his body lies inside, and he is so damn close to it. Drooling by the thought of it, Isaac never knew that he would finally reunite since the self-destruction in the divine realm. Not to mention, he is thrilled to notice the dark mana leaking throughout the Skeleton King's body. Rising up, he looks to have lost his mind. The godly statue describes Isaac's faith imitating the face of a courageous warrior who is unfazed by this eerie mana. Taking a look at him, all the wimps get their jaws dropped to the floor when noticing Isaac's weird face. They notice that this infant looks to be completely out of his mind. Never have they ever seen an infant of such kind. Still, the final gatekeeper declares that the lot still has time to decide if they are up for it. He believes that those must come forth who can't smile when facing death, or else they should head home. In case of giving up, the final gatekeeper will allow the losers to pick up their treasure and get on moving. However, the kid in black hasn't come up with plans to push through this dark mana. Some kids are convinced that their death is inevitable if they step inside. They resort to choosing a hand-picked treasure from the second storage and head home. Coming forth, Gоnna shows her commitment to the third trial, with no interest in picking up the second floor's treasure. He declares that they all stepping in. Not only that, Gоnna demands the final gatekeeper to activate all the traps inside. Popping their eyes out, the kids believe this Dumbo has lost his mind to ask for such a thing. Gоnna announces that no mighty saint, even the likes of Saintess Melissa, could get the job of retrieving the Skeleton King's body. The final gatekeeper figures out that Gоnna knows a bit about the third storage, and to that she smirks. Melissa wouldn't let the kids march to their deaths, so Gоnna shows herself as a preventive measure. Plus, he expects not to hear that they did the job without any trouble. Without thinking twice, Gоnna demands the gatekeeper to restore the third store to its original, most dangerous state. All this, just to be seen as much greater than Melissa herself. Isaac thinks that Brad is out of it. The gatekeeper hears her wishes. Without wasting another breath, the kids let Gоnna go in by herself. Against their choice, something pulls them all in. Just then, the Dark Soul points at Skeleton King's hand, and Isaac's happiness skyrockets. Grinning like a total freak, Isaac praises his body for holding up this long. Turns out that his body has been sucking the third storage's mana. Brunette wonders if that's the Skeleton King's body, but Kind in Black points out that it's just the limb. But that's not it, as Isaac figures out that it's just the thumb leaking the eerie mana, while the rest is just a replica. In the middle of processing, a horrifying beast with glowing red eyes emerges. The group of kids freaks out, seeing the demonkin. They guess they wouldn't see such things show up in the third storage. Thus, the gatekeeper reminds these kids that they asked for it. So Kid in Black blames it all on Gоnna. Isaac's mind clicks as the beast lets out a bone-chilling growl. Completely unfazed, Gоnna assures that he will make sure they get their promised treasure. At the thought of it, Gонna's mind takes back to the 14 familiars, the elite subordinates trained by the Skeleton King, and the Pope family's capture idiots. He has got an ace, the holy spell, to deal with this beast, and claim the treasure as his. Without wasting another second, he unleashes his power, and the beast lets out a blood-curdling shriek. While Isaac couldn't care less, the rest of the kids had their jaws dropped to the floor. Apparently, the light of the Pope family seems to have worked. Out of nowhere, the beast voices asking if Gоnna did this. Completely stunned, the demonkin, all furious, demands to know if Kinda dares to claim over his king's body. Suddenly, some dude breaks the news that the demonkin's seal in the third storage has been broken. In a panic frenzy, Gowl wonders if it's the 14 familiars. and Riley realizes the grave danger the kids are in now. Asking for the elder supervisors, the old geezer mentions the lot went missing after neutralizing the storage's booby traps. They are aware that no kid can take on a beast like that, so they decide to call off the trial, but a blinding light strikes them. They figure it's the relic storage opening up. Barrett Bishop smirks, proud of Gonna for pulling it off, while Gowl is stunned that a kid took down the demonkin. Riley bets it is Gonna Barrett of the Pope family. The crowd congratulates Bishop Barrett, while he bets it's the end for the Joshua family to pledge their allegiance to the Pope family, as they own the Skeleton King's body. Just then, the kids walk out, but Riley's eyes look for Isaac and Shuri. Gathered at the entrance, the kids are somewhat injured but look fine. However, the bunch of kids who made it to the third storage hasn't come out yet. Panic rises while the parents wonder what's going on. Riley and Asili notice the last queue of children, which includes Shuri and Armin Age. Running to their father's embrace, Riley realizes that Isaac isn't here. Panic washes over Riley, who wonders where is his little son. Confirming Isaac is a no-show in the last wave, Bishop Barrett confronts Gonna where is the Skeleton King's body. With a sharp tone, he demands answers. Sweating bullets, Gonna has no clue how to break the news that she messed up. Meanwhile, Bishop spots the second storage's useless treasure in her hand. All of a sudden, the final gatekeeper glows in the air like a wolf in gold, picking baby Isaac by its teeth. That catches everyone off guard, including Riley. Apparently, Isaac, with a smug grin, watches over the crowd. The golden wolf surfaces on the ground with baby Isaac. Without thinking twice, Riley marches to that side to get his son, alongside Asili. At a halt, Asili asks Master Riley if this golden wolf is actually the guardian dragon that protects the relic storage. Their jaws drop to witness the sight of the holy dragon coming out to deliver baby Isaac. Riley cannot ignore the fact that it is the real holy dragon, the hatchling, that takes care of the relic storage. Not to mention, he confirms that even as a wolf, the mere aura screams that it's the holy dragon in the flesh. No doubt, Riley is convinced it's one of the matriarch's kin, deeply tied to the dragons, and called upon inside the relic storage. He regards his presence to be noble. Suddenly, there is a weird noise seeping out of Isaac's mouth. The elder freaks out to think that an infant is sucking on the Skeleton King's body. He lets the baby know that it's not the thing to chew at. But what's scary is this infant managed to drag out the Skeleton King's body. With dagger eyes and possible delusions, Bishop asks Gonna if she let the little baby have Skeleton King's body. Bishop declares that it's a foolish move coming from Gonna, but he is aware that it's the saint's duty to save the honor of the host. But the holy dragon isn't buying that crap. He announces baby Isaac to be the sole claimer of the Skeleton King's body as he has done it, fair and square. Meanwhile, Isaac freakily grins with the victory sign, and Gonna sulks down as his father takes the soul-shattering news. Looking back, the demonkin, utterly pissed, is ready to charge at Gonna, while she is left thinking about what's wrong with her holy spell not working. Without further ado, the demonkin declares them all to just drop dead already. Freaking out, the kids choose to run for now, as the beast goes full berserk. Reeking this place in smoke and dust, the demonkin is losing control. Right then, Gonna was surprised to see someone whipping out a cotton blue defensive barrier. Apparently, it's Isaac's doing, who is right now dashing right to the demonkin, ready to settle his score. Gonna is completely stunned to see Joshua's baby pulling this off. Muttering the same old thing, the demonkin unleashes true horror to defeat this baby. But Isaac remains unfazed. Blowing all the power in one fist, Isaac blows a solid gut-wrenching punch at Demonkin for not recognizing his master of all people. Coming to the present, the elder and others know that the holy dragon is one honest being, and even they are shocked to digest the fact that Isaac Joshua brought back the Skeleton King's body. They wonder what Gonna did then. Even Riley can't grasp the fact that something this dangerous has been done by his kid. Plus, Riley demands to know why they released the seal on the demonkin when mere children couldn't handle it. That cracks him up. He accuses the snobby brat in white, Gonna Barrett, of initiating such a thought. Just like that, all the wimpy kids start blaming it all on Kinda for activating the booby traps in the third storage and forcefully sucking them inside. All the parents can't believe their ears that Gonna Barrett risked their kids' lives for this. They never thought someone from the Pope's family would stoop so low. All of them are convinced that if Isaac Joshua didn't handle the thing, then the results would have been really bad. Afterward, the lot believes that by the looks of the results, it means the Joshua family won over the Pope family. The mere thought of this boils Bishop's brain because losing to them wasn't on his to-do list. Everyone keeps muttering about Isaac's true potential, even though he can't qualify as a saint, but he packs such power inside. Now the crowd is fully sure that the Joshua family has been preparing for their return all this time. On the other hand, Riley is totally proud of her son for doing a splendid job. Aside from that, the elders are practically begging Isaac to spit the bone out for God's sake. As soon as they reach out for Isaac, he slaps their hands away. The old geezers don't get why this baby is so strong. Meanwhile, Isaac notices this burst of mana surge inside him, but he wonders if it's from Survive. Also, the old woman lets Riley know that the matriarch would love to hear it all. Grinning like an evil hag, the old woman is convinced that they can sniff out the Skeleton King's body using his bone. She giggles like a true witch, as she is ready to track down the body with a tracking spell. Seeing this fuss, Isaac's face turns pale, realizing the old geezer's plan all this only to rip apart Skeleton's soul to settle their 150-year-old grudge. Right then, the holy dragon bows down to hand over Isaac and leaves the lunatics to their mess. Inside a room that feels like an operation theater, the old hag in a mask declares that it's not here. Possibly checking Isaac's diaper nappies, the group cries over not being able to find the bone. In the meantime, Isaac challenges the old geezers that they can search it all, but he isn't letting them have it. Furthermore, what happened in the relic storage doesn't sit right with Isaac and bothers him even more. After delivering the solid punch to Demonkin for not remembering his own master, the Demonkin finally recognized his master's mana. After seeing his master, the Demonkin gets a bit sentimental on the brink of death. He reflects that his master's news of death made him believe that it was the end for him, but he confirms that he always knew his master would make a comeback. As he begins to fade, he expresses his desire to serve his master again. Also, barely able to speak, he mentions being captured by the church. Isaac demands Demonkin to speak more clearly as he has a million questions to ask. But too late for that. Back in the present, Isaac figures out that the Pope family is behind his capture. He decides to look into this matter for now. Right now, Riley with a feeder in hand pleads Isaac to poop out the bone. Meanwhile, the elders shout at the servants to bring more stronger laxatives. This whole thing is pissing him out, and Isaac is close to flip this house upside down soon enough. Meanwhile, the elders shiver at the thought of the matriarch ever finding this. Their deaths are inevitable this way. The old geezer believes that they would even dissect the kid to retrieve the bone. That worries Riley even more, but he asks the elder to chill out as it's going to be all right. Although Riley clearly knows that the woman has already split open her son once, but the grandson is a whole different story. At least he thinks so, but they can't help biting their thumbs as chills run down their spine. On the other hand, the Dark Soul demands to know if Melissa went off with the matriarch to go on a pilgrimage. Isaac lets him know that they are going to be stuck there for a while. In the meantime, he believes that he better focus on sucking all the mana before Melissa drops by and then makes a run for it. Out of the blue, Isaac's uncle comes forth to call Riley, as the matriarch wants to have a word with him. That takes Isaac by surprise, and everyone is caught off guard by this rush. Riley's mind is blown away at the thought of his mother's arrival. He demands to know if mother had come back already. Apparently, their mother hasn't made such a quick return from a pilgrimage as ever. Isaac's throat dries up as he clenches his teeth. He figures out that the old hag surfaced back here in a hurry because of him. Not only that, he is still in the middle of absorbing out all the mana from the bone. He is damn sure Melissa would definitely dissect his organs to carve out the bone. Later on, the elders are taken by surprise to see the pile of jewels and gold. This all turns out to be a gift for Isaac Joshua straight from the matriarch. With a sigh of relief, it was a false alarm. Riley thought the matriarch herself made a comeback. Turns out, Gowell later added that she would make her return with the patriarch. As it turns out, this clumsy dude never said she had arrived in person. Out of all, Isaac feels like choking this jerk for scaring the crap out of him. Moreover, the guards mention the Pope's gifts, but the elder strictly tells them to auction it off. Hesitant at first, he tells the geezer to tone it down, or the Pope's messenger would hear it. Moreover, the messenger states the great emperor took a big interest in the relic event. He adds that this whole thing is prepared by the Pope's people in apology and thanks to the Joshua family. However, he notices their decline in the Pope's gifts. On that, he believes that they will not deny this, as he flips it open. As Cardinal mentions, the messenger says that it would be of great service to Isaac. The elders are completely speechless to see the triple crown, rewarded to Isaac Joshua. When asked, the Dark Soul reveals that it's a disgusting token bearing the Pope's seal. Everyone gushes at the thought of receiving this, and they ask Riley to accept this honor. Isaac wonders why the messenger is handing this to his uncle when it's actually his. He confirms if the triple crown is actually for Riley, and the messengers give out a flat yes as per orders. Hissing under his breath, this angers him while the elder asks the messenger why something belonging to Isaac is given to another family member. The elder asks if he is implying the receiver to be dead. That catches Isaac off guard. The messenger tells the lot not to misjudge the Pope's intentions. He tosses the theory that Isaac is still young. Also, the elder spots the sunflower which represents the deceased metal receiver for the Pope family, right on the triple crown. Isaac notices that brain rot wants him buried deep. Enraged by this, the old hag wishes to show their wrath to the Pope. Gowell tries to chill out the elderly. However, the hag knows that Cardinal must be behind this. Gowell asks Riley to just accept it and get it over with. But Isaac is not liking that idea, so he lifts the metal and incinerates it with holy flame. Upon asking, Isaac claims that it's his doing.